Welcome to the BitGeek podcast. I'm your host, Ron Avis, and sitting with me on the couch to the far left is my co-host, the Prince of Pixels,
Nick Wright.
And returning with us, we have the chairman of the Chinese knockoff,
Martin.
And this week, we're doing our E3 2018 predictions. All right, so Mr. Chairman of the Chinese knockoff, it looks like you have brought us a new toy.
That's
You're
right.
like the king of cartoons, but with Chinese knockoffs.
Well, apparently it's my thing now.
It is totally your thing. You're owning it now.
Go out and research the Chinese knockoffs and...
you put that in your Google search.
Yes.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Chinese knockoff games.
That's right. That's right. So this one is the retro game. It can be found on eBay, Amazon. Here's the handheld. It's actually a pretty nice little handheld. Out of the box, it comes with quite a few ROMs on an SD card, but unfortunately there's some emulation issues. It's kind of runs slowly, but the community has really picked up, and you can run a version of Linux on here now, and it's got DOSBox. It's got really nice emulators for arcade games. Really impressive. I've got a PlayStation 1 emulator running on here now.
Yeah, I was impressed.
With Castlevania.
Before the show, you were letting me try out like Final Fight and Street Fighter, the original World Warriors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll do some close-up video of this.
Yeah.
And you guys definitely check it out. So I recommend if you buy one of these, definitely mod it. It's pretty easy. Just Google it.
Are any of the emulators, are they more solid than others that you've noticed so far?
So the Fireburn Alpha for the arcade is pretty solid. There's a...
I think that's what they're using in the Switch too, to be honest.
Oh, are they?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. They've got pretty good, really good NES emulator on here. They fixed the scaling issues.
Yeah, you said those SNK games are butter smooth, didn't you?
Yeah, super smooth. We'll show some of that video. It's also got Doom and Heretic and Hexen on here. Yeah, so
it felt like
the
Doom.
versions. Yeah, it's really good.
Weird to play with like the D-pad or whatever with Doom, but it works.
It actually works.
Yeah, it works fine. It works just as good as the Super Nintendo one.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
The interesting thing about this is it's got a card slot here for external SD card. I think originally there was a version of this that was designed just to play Game Boy Advance games. And
I was going to say, it's
Chinese
shaped like a
it.
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, let me see if I can turn this off here. Yeah, let's rip that out. Yeah, so it's actually got a Game Boy Advance cart, look-alike cart with a SD card reader inside of it.
That's cool. That's really cool, yeah.
Now, once you modify it, you've got to do some special stuff to be able to read this. So it's got an internal SD card right now. But
how about you send me a link to where you got the instructions or whatever on how you do that?
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Or maybe I shouldn't do that, actually. That kind of like promotes emulation.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's easy
Just
enough
Google
to Google it.
Just Google it.
So, we don't...
We don't condone it, but we do it.
So, anyway.
Sorry.
That's my Chinese knockoff for this.
Did you say how much
session.
it was, Martin?
They run around $40 to $60, depending on where you get it from.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'll kill myself trying to find like an authentic like Game Boy, on eBay or whatever, and like they'll run me right around that. You're getting the whole thing right here.
And one of the interesting things you were showing me is like some of the arcade games, like the vertical games, like Pac-Man and whatnot, that it actually played them in the vertical mode by default.
Oh, cool.
And you turned it on its side.
Yeah, so there's Pac-Man.
That was pretty cool.
That's a
it
nice
automatically
touch.
rotates there.
Cool.
So...
And so it's smart. It rotates to the part where the thumb pad's on the bottom.
And the controls were already mapped so that they were kind of rotated around also, that you could just sit there and play Pac-Man one-handed.
That's pretty cool. I'm considering getting one of those.
There is actually a version of this that is like a Game Boy, but it's got a slower processor. So this is the better version to get.
So what's that one, like $20?
Actually, yeah, it's pretty close, like 20, $30, yeah.
It amazes me how cheap these things are.
Yeah, it's
and you can
crazy.
get it right off Amazon, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, I've bought things like from eBay or whatever, and it comes from China, so I got to wait like 3 weeks. But if you're buying it off Amazon, you're getting it within a week at least. I mean,
well, I mean, Amazon, you could do next day on this one.
oh my gosh! So if you're impatient like
but
I
you're
am,
gonna spend like 60. But if you do eBay, you're gonna get it for like 45 around there. So,
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Man, you can even get it cheaper than that.
yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing,
All right, yeah.
Mr. Chinese Knockoff, chairman of Chinese Knockoff.
All right. Maybe next time I'll have something else to show.
I hope so. I hope so, man. Because
Well, I can tell you, it's on the
I'm
boat.
almost getting to
It's
the point-
on the boat. It's on the boat.
you got something on the
I
boat.
got it's on the boat.
Yes. So for the E3 follow-up show, for
I
sure.
will definitely have something for the E3 follow-up.
I'm almost getting to the point where I'm expecting you, because I almost was like jokingly going to ask if you brought anything for us, and you had it in your hands. So I didn't even have
had
to.
it. Yeah.
So there it was. It's like it's like the same size as like an iPhone box. I was like, is this like,
Yeah. It's
you know, and it's crazy.
and this actually comes with a TV out. So you could, plug it into the TV if you wanted to.
Cool.
I mean, but whatever.
No HDMI, I guess.
No.
Well, thank you for sharing, Martin. I guess we'll get on with the show then.
All right.
Nick, this is our second prediction show, and I figured what better guest that we have in our rotation of guests to have on to discuss E3 predictions than Martin.
And somebody that's actually been to E3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. As we learned from a previous episode, Martin's been to E3, and I think he's more. If there's like a scale of E3 excitedness, like I'm up here. Nick, you enjoy it, but you're not watching the streams later.
I just get the stuff when it comes.
But Martin, I'm pretty sure you're real close to like where I am.
Yeah, I think you and I are pretty high. Like,
pretty high.
I'll watch the live shows, and I'm pretty excited to see what they're coming out with. So.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a big one because we got Nintendo at full strength. PlayStation is full strength. Microsoft, I guess although technically they're in second place, they're really in third. Because
they're a bit of the underdog, right?
They're a bit of the underdog. They're selling really well in the grand scheme of things, but Sony's doing so good and Nintendo's doing so good. And it feels so good to hear that come out of my mouth because Nintendo's really not been in a good place.
Yeah.
It's good to see them finally, get to their senses, right? And I don't know if they've been listening to the fans or just kind of realizing that what they've been doing with a lot of the motion controls and the Wii systems and the branding just hasn't worked for us. But the Switch, I mean, it's amazing. It's exactly what we want. I mean, we didn't know we wanted that, but it's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, as it turns out. Well, we love our handhelds with Nintendo. But, we've always wanted, like a powerful enough home console. And like they just nailed it with this hybrid.
Yep.
So I'm really excited. Of course, now we're getting to this situation where very soon, Sony and Microsoft, they're going to be introducing their next level hardware pretty soon. And what's Nintendo going to do to stay relevant?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're kind of behind the power curve, right?
Yeah, they say the power is like somewhere in between, like a bit more powerful than an Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. It's more powerful than a Wii U, but it's not quite up to Xbox One, PlayStation 4. So when, Xbox One, they just released their X, I guess is what it is, like the Scorpion from whatever they used to call it.
Yeah.
It's, like now they're the highest. So everyone's like, well, what's
No
PlayStation?
games.
That's true. They have
We'll see, though. E3 might change all that, right?
Possibly.
I hope so.
I have some predictions that may be a bit out there, but, if they were to come true, I think would really push Microsoft, back into the thick of things a bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's no doubt that Microsoft is lacking games. They have a lot of games. They have many, many games, but they don't have the exclusive games.
Right.
And that's kind of what puts you over the top in like consoles. You have to have exclusives. You can be as powerful as can be, but without that, what's the incentive for a gamer to buy it on your console? More power, but also you got to have exclusive games.
And I think that's going to be interesting because their strategy has been release it on the Xbox One and on the PC.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, they're not going to have exclusives really anymore.
But
so
console
how is that
gamers
gonna
are
work?
console gamers and PC gamers are PC gamers, I think. So I think those two ecosystems are different enough still to where like you're not going to be eating into, like you don't have like PlayStation and PC gamers necessarily. Like you're typically either console or PC. So, but yeah, it's a decision they made. I'm not really sure it's the best thing. And I mean, they're smart, obviously, at Microsoft. I'm sure they have a reason for doing that. It's not like PC has any competition as far as gaming goes. So they're certainly not. They've never gotten any from like Apple. But this isn't about PC gaming. We're going to talk about all three of the big three, guys: the Nintendo, the Sony, and Microsoft. And we're each going to kind of, one by one, share some predictions. We don't know each other's predictions. For the first time ever, like we really didn't see each other's answers. So I think it might be kind of fun to get a response, like an actual reaction. Because sometimes we do get a reaction, like we'll share with it. We're like, oh, like that's interesting. But then, but when we get on the show, we got to like fake it and act out a bit. Like, oh, wow, that's a great one. But this time we're gonna try and we kept our predictions a bit separated. So because of that, we may have some overlap. So I came up with more than Martin and maybe more than Nick. And I'd like to at least touch base on every one that I came up with because I think they're things that could possibly happen. And it'd be interesting and fun to just discuss, like what your thoughts on if that game were to be released.
Yeah.
Would you buy it? What are your thoughts on?
Sure.
So I think what we'll do, Nintendo usually does their Nintendo Direct last. I think the last couple of years they've done directs and then they've done the Treehouse. And in the Treehouse, sometimes they'll save a few like little announcements. Like they revealed the 3DS Metroid game last year, and I think that works for them.
Yeah, and they kind of release throughout the year, right? They don't.
Yeah, they do directs throughout the year
at E3 like some of the other guys.
And that's great. That's really cool. I'll dig that they do that. But the thing about their Nintendo Directs is they're really tight. Unlike their live press conferences where they have to translate and they do all these like little weird Japanese things. I don't know how else to describe it. It might make sense in Japan how they introduce things, but here in Nintendo, we have Nintendo of America, we have Reggie. Why don't they utilize Reggie and let him come out and do his big stage show for E3?
We want more Reggie. Come on.
Yeah,
let's see some Reggie this year.
Reggie's awesome. Let's have more Reggie. His body's ready. It's ready to receive E3.
I'm even cool to see Reggie as a Muppet again.
Reggie, are you ready for the digital event?
Nintendo 62, Nintendo 63, Nintendo 64. My puppet body is ready.
I'd be open to see that again.
How amazing would it be if like they released a Star Fox game with the Muppet graphics?
Oh yeah. I want that as a TV episode on Netflix. Like Star Fox Muppets. That would be awesome.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I would totally love that. But yeah, so in order, typically the show order goes at the E3. They'll do like Sony. I want to say Xbox goes first, and then Sony will typically go follow them.
Yeah. And
Nintendo goes last. And they've in recent years had big stages for some third party like Bethesda and Ubisoft has done some stuff, and EA I think maybe has done some things. So we're not going to focus on those. We're just going to focus on the Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, the big three. And so we'll start with Microsoft. And Martin, I think since you're our guest, usually I like to let the guests lead off. So, what is your first E3 prediction for Microsoft? What is Microsoft going to do to try and gain some momentum back?
Well, there's a lot of things they could do, right? They've been doing the backwards compatibility. I think they're probably logically going to come out with some more games for Xbox One, original Xbox, Xbox 360 to kind of pad that wallet a little bit more. I really want to see them come out with either a Battletoads or a Perfect Dark game, some kind of first-person shooter.
So not like a backwards compatible version, but like a
a brand new Perfect Dark series. Like reboot that thing on Xbox One. A Battletoads. I know it was teased. I think maybe a couple years ago, maybe even at the last E3. And it's kind of been integrated into like some of the other games, like as characters, but I'd love to see them actually as a full-blown game. We just need some exclusive IP to the system, and I think those two are probably outside of Halo good enough to kind of get me interested in it again.
Do you think there's really enough interest in a Battletoads game that would get people energized and
I think it's
excited?
different enough.
I think so.
You think so, guys?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when they announced that Battletoads would be a special guest on Killer Instinct, I mean, I thought that was really cool.
Right.
Yeah, and Shovel Knight, I think they were exclusive on.
Oh yeah, there was a Battletoads
Xbox
character
One.
for Shovel Knight, wasn't
So it's like I'm seeing the patterns there. Yeah, there were Battletoads characters there.
there? Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, I think something's going to happen with this, so we'll see.
So Rare, I know that Microsoft has Rare in their back pocket,
Yep.
and they have for a while, and they've kind of been using them in a weird way. Like, they just released that Pirates game that kind of was received with a thud. Like, nobody's talking about that game.
Yeah.
I feel like for like a week, people were kind of talking about it. And
I don't even know what
you
you're
don't
talking
even
about.
know.
He doesn't even know about it.
I can't even think of what the title is called. It's like something pirates, and it's like it's like a Halo type open world game, but it's pirates.
It's kind of like an MMO light, you know.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking.
I mean,
but
it looks really cool. Like it looks neat. The waters fit, like all of that stuff looks gorgeous, and you have teams, and you're on your own ship, and you can have battles in the sea. And then there's islands where you have to try and fight for treasure, I guess. Like you and your team have to come up with roles. Like, okay, I'm going to wait at the ship, and you guys are going to go in, try and collect the treasure. And you have competing clans of pirates that are also trying to do it. It sounds interesting.
But Ubisoft has their version of the same game coming out. It's going to be coming out this year.
I don't even know it.
And it's using the what's the line, the really famous game line that they have.
Assassin's Creed or whatever.
Oh,
So the
I
Assassin's
was
Creed
thinking
was
Assassin's Creed, but I didn't realize that's what you were going for.
Yeah.
So the what's the Assassin's Creed where it's like you're on the ocean and you're a pirate?
Black Flag.
Black Flag.
yeah.
It's based off of that engine. It's just they rebuilt it as a pirates game,
Okay.
and that's coming out. So yeah.
And it won't be that big a deal.
it probably won't,
Nobody's
so-
clamoring for this.
No one's asking for pirate games.
I really appreciate that people are trying new things, but I just don't know if I think like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies have sucked every bit of interest out of people. If they would have done something like that 10 years ago, it would be incredibly popular. I would think, during the like PlayStation 3, 360 era, if they could have pulled it off, maybe they couldn't have with the hardware, but people, I don't think people are all that interested in a pirate game. But that's what Rare's been up to. So, it's possible that, most companies, as they're polishing off the big game, there's the next big thing that's already in development.
Or maybe they were dual tracking it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they were doing a Battletoads or a Perfect Dark. There's
And
no
they're
way
both
they were
Rare,
doing both.
right? They're both
Yeah,
Rare
there's
games.
probably no way they were doing both.
Battletoads is Rare, right? Or
Yeah.
is it not?
Yeah. It is rare.
Okay,
But they could have outsourced it possibly. You never know.
Would you be as excited if they outsourced it, though?
It kind of depends on which studio was doing the work.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And would it be like the traditional...
It might actually be a good thing if it wasn't done by Rare.
Can you imagine us saying that at one point, like 15, 20 years ago? Like, Rare was everything. They were like
But if you go back and play some of the Rare games, it's kind of obvious it's there.
like Banjo and all those
yeah,
games.
yeah, they're a little...
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You have like these rose-colored glasses, particularly for
Diddy
the
Kong
N64.
Racing. I mean, come on, guys. No offense, it's a good game, but
GoldenEye. I mean, like they were super fun at the time, but they have no replayability whatsoever.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like a Battletoads game is the kind of game that I would look for on like cheap. It's not something that would get me super pumped up and charged up. And now, if they released it cheap to begin with, like they did that Ratchet and Clank game on Sony, it was like a $40 game or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been all that interested in that Ratchet and Clank game if it would have been a $60 game. But since it was like a $40 game and it looked beautiful, I was suddenly interested in it. So I don't know.
Yeah, it could look good.
And so help me remember, guys. Now, Perfect Dark was originally on Nintendo 64, so it
Right.
had the same control scheme as GoldenEye, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
It was based off the same, I think, game engine.
And there was
Style.
a Perfect Dark game that came out during the launch of 360 era, right?
0.
Yeah.
Yeah, Perfect. Now, did you guys play that one at all?
No.
I bought it. I wasn't super impressed with it.
It was.
They kind of rushed it, I think.
I want to. I never played it, but I seem to remember it being broken,
Yeah, it was broken.
which is super disappointing because. You know, here you have Rare and Microsoft, they struck up that deal, and that might have been like the first. No, there was another game that they released too that was a little bit prettier. And it was kind of like a
Oh, the
Ratchet and Clank kind of
the
game.
fairy game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, now that one didn't seem quite as broken, but you know, so they signed Rare and they came out with a couple of games at launch. So one was pretty broken.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like I'm just not sure I even have the confidence that they would release this polished game. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to crap on your prediction whatsoever.
No, that's fine.
I'm just.
I was struggling with Microsoft. I'm like,
I hear you.
I mean, there's probably going to be a Halo game.
Well,
yeah,
and
great.
You
but,
know, to predict something doesn't mean you like it necessarily.
True,
It's just you
true,
think they're
yeah.
going to do this.
Good point. Good point. Now, let's move on to Nick, I guess, for a second.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have any Microsoft predictions or yourself?
Well, I didn't really write stuff down in that way. Like, whether it was Microsoft, you know, Sony, whatever. I don't think anything I have listed is really Microsoft at all.
You're a hater.
Well, I don't know about you, but I did a boatload of Nintendo stuff right off the top of my head. And then there were a handful of like Sony things, and then like Microsoft. I'm like, I gotta like even this out a bit. I mean, I'm strictly Nintendo these days, but I still am interested in what everyone else is doing.
Really, everything I listed is just pretty much like games that I kind of think might
That could come out from any platform.
Now
maybe.
some and some of them are kind of system specific, not Microsoft, and others can kind of be anything. It's like a company like Capcom or somebody, you know.
Right.
So.
Well, I have a few. I guess we could, you know, roll over to mine, and then if it you know anything pertains to whatever it is that you have a game that comes up, you for sure bring it up.
Right.
Here's a game that I think that would really, really, really get people excited for Microsoft and would buy an Xbox for, and that would be Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Now Valve,
It's never going to happen. It's never going to come out.
did Valve? Did they make the what's it? State of Decay games? Is that their thing? Because they just released that.
That's gonna be my thing, man. That they're gonna announce like a Kickstarter for like Half-Life 3, like they did Shenmue.
Oh,
To get it
God.
made. Yeah, Half-Life 3 is one of those games that gets like similarly to Metroid, how you were like, there's going to be a Metroid game, there's got to be a Metroid game, and then finally someone predicted it, and then they did it, and they're like, I nailed it. But like every year, they're
Well,
like,
they stopped doing the Half-Life 2 episodes. They kind of stopped on all that. So it doesn't make me think that they're going to like even come out with a Half-Life 3.
well, Valve. Okay, so let's think about Valve. They have Steam, and they're making money hand over fist.
They don't have to make games anymore.
I know.
That's the thing.
But okay, so here's Microsoft.
Here's what Microsoft should do, quite honestly. They should buy Valve and just make Xbox a Steam machine.
Well,
and
they
be
bought
done with it.
Mojang or whatever. I mean, they have they have a war chest full of cash. They ought to just back the dump truck of money to Valve, just just dump it all out and like, please
Just let them
make
run
us-
their app, their Steam app, on the Xbox.
Yeah,
Just let them do that and be done with it.
might as well.
I mean, might as well.
But no, I think a Half-Life 3 game is possible, and I know everybody wants it, and I really firmly believe it's gonna happen eventually, and if there's a time, it's now for Microsoft. Like, I'm not even sure how long they even want to keep the Xbox name going, since they do kind of share it with PC. Like, I don't even know if it's even all that much worth anything to them.
What other names could they come up with? Xbox One X2? I mean,
I don't know.
it's getting ridiculous.
I really wish they had.
It's kind of like with the Wii and the Wii U now. It's like you got to
Yeah.
come up with a whole different
They're really-
naming title.
They're in this like weird kind of naming peril. Like I don't even know what to say.
Xbox 1, 2, 3.
Xbox amazing. Xbox now.
Xbox reboot.
They don't even know what to do. But naming their system is the least of their worries. I mean, they have so few exclusive games. Even games that they had on the calendar for years that they were making, like that Dragon game. but with the boy and this dragon or whatever. It was one of those. It was like dragon. What was it called?
Was it Blaze Blue? No, that's something else.
You guys know what we're talking about, right?
Help us out here.
I'm appealing to the viewers now. But no, it got canceled famously.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were looking forward to the game. And it was getting closer and closer to being released. And it wasn't looking all that great. And they're dumping all this money into it. And then finally Microsoft was just like, nah.
It was a Japanese title, right? And then they brought it over to the U.S.
I think so, yeah. So, and then last year Microsoft was like, okay, we're going to focus a lot on indie games. And they had that conference where they just like they just dumped like 80 games in this like quick rapid fire kind of Nintendo Direct style video. And for me personally, a handful of them looked interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so quantity is not what you need. It's quality. And you need a big game. Half-Life 3 would get everybody excited. And if you made it exclusive, it's the type of game, it's the caliber of game that could pull them closer to Sony. I don't think they're going to catch them necessarily. But it'd pull them closer, and then when they do end up releasing like the Xbox Now or whatever it's going to be called, the Xbox 0.5, 2.1.5, they'll have momentum, and they'll have that Half-Life name. You know, they could even release like
Sony's going to get
definitive
if
edition.
If anybody were to get that, it would be Sony. Microsoft would either get like a Counter-Strike or Team Fortress, but Sony would outbid Microsoft.
Sony has so many studios in their back pocket making games around.
Because there's like no incentive for Valve to put Half-Life 3, probably the most wanted game they have, on.
There's no incentive.
Xbox.
Are you kidding? Like money. I mean, money's the incentive,
well,
and Microsoft could pay for it. No, this is like a pie in the sky.
It's not going to come out, but if it did, it would be Sony.
I'm going to look amazing if that happens. Like, you know, it's got to be like the first thing they do. Like, I don't even like a lot of times they'll save like a teaser or whatever for the end of the show. They got to punch you right in the face. And, like the crowd's got to be buzzing, and like then they can talk about their indie games, and people are still like, whoa, they're still recovering from the Half-Life 3 announcement.
Man, if they announced Half-Life 3, it would just be like, Half-Life 3. And they would drop the mic and walk off stage.
Available now. Nobody else would pay attention to E3. But here's the question. Would it be on Switch?
Half-Life 3?
Half-Life 3.
No. It would be an exclusive, I think. Like I don't think that they would let anyone else have it. Like if they're going to back up
if it was multi-platform, like Xbox One and PS4, do you think they would try and squeeze it on Switch?
No, there's no way they would get Half-Life 3. No, there's no way. They can't even get like Fallout 4, like on there. So they've got
Doom on there.
And they did an amazing job with Doom.
The new Wolfenstein.
Yes. We'll see how that plays and if it's good or not.
That's true.
But Switch, that is not the kind of game they need to be focusing on. They were like, we wanted to. I understand why they got Bethesda to port some of those games. They desperately needed. If you listen to everyone out on the internet, they're like, you got to get third-party support. And they're doing it. They're actually doing it. For the first time since the Wii, they're actually getting third-party support now. Now, it took a leap. Nobody took a leap of faith with Nintendo. They waited a year to see all the consoles. Now that you're going to start seeing all the ports, and you're going to start seeing all those comparison videos. It's the type of thing that they honestly might want to avoid. People comparing graphics and stuff. That's not really Nintendo's game, and it never has. Yeah. So although I think it's important to get, third party, I really don't think it's important for them to focus on like games that are typically made to be run on a computer. It's just not smart, I don't think. They need to, like, games like Fractured But Whole, like, I think that's smart. But even that game I heard was a little bit broken when it came out, which is really disappointing for me because I was thinking about selling my PlayStation 4 version and picking it up for the Switch, but people are like, you might want to wait for a patch, which is what they always do.
Well, and that's what they did with that third indie game, Rime.
Yeah. Rime's supposed to play pretty well, right?
Not when it came out on Switch. Okay. It was garbage.
Okay.
And I ended up just getting on Xbox One on sale. But now I heard it's decent on Switch, but it's like, wow, it's like half the game. The graphics are lowered and all that kind of stuff.
And I'm totally fine as long as there's like a smooth frame rate and it's not too.
I think it is now from what I've seen on the reviews, but
and I don't necessarily have to have 60 frames per second. I'm totally fine with like 30 frames per second as long as it's solid. I'm not one of those people that can tell typically from. I can tell it in a sports game, but not really in a fighting game. You could tell, but most of these other games I really couldn't care less. Like Zelda runs at 30 frames per second, and it looks amazing to me.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So, that's the big one I think Microsoft needs to... That's the home run swing that would really get Microsoft, back, not necessarily in the lead, but for a couple of years, they would grab all those headlines. Microsoft would suddenly be the story, and it would play, they would tout it because they have the most powerful system. It would look probably almost as good as like the PC version. And I didn't say this, but it's going to, of course, be a PC / Xbox One thing. Like
Which goes with what they've been doing.
It goes with what they've been doing, but I didn't really mention that. Like it's a lot of people who are going to play Half-Life are going to play it on PC, but there's going to be people like we're all going to be interested too. So that's one of mine. Martin, do you have any other Microsoft predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think something's going to be announced around the HoloLens, the second version of it, because it's been out there for over a year now.
Right.
Strangely, we didn't hear much about it at the Build conference from Microsoft, but it would be really awesome if they announced something for E3 for HoloLens 2. Just some kind of, although it doesn't need to be integrated, right?
Would they brand it HoloLens 2, or would they just call it HoloLens?
Maybe it could just be like Xbox HoloLens or something like that. Try to get more in with the gaming, because right now it's only developers. Or is it? Can anybody buy it? I guess anybody could buy a HoloLens right now.
Can they? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think it's something that anybody can buy. I think it's just developer kits.
Maybe developer, or if you have $3,000 or something lying around.
It's so odd to me that.
I mean, it's super cool.
It's super cool. I think that they're okay. So when the HoloLens is different, it's sort of, isn't it more augmented reality than it is?
Yeah, it's not VR. I mean, you can still see the world around you, right?
Yeah. So like, there's the big, VR push a couple years ago.
Which Microsoft doesn't have VR on their systems, right?
No.
Which that's kind of strange.
And here's one thing too, it's like a couple of E3s ago, they pushed that Minecraft demo really hard with HoloLens.
Yeah.
They had a whole experience for like journalists that tied in with the Halo 5, where you had like this kind of briefing like a mission briefing, and you put the HoloLens on, and it was all integrated in with. We never saw that, but journalists and like people got to play that, and they talked about how cool it was. Last year, nothing. It was all Scorpion.
I think what they were doing is maybe trying to, because they paused on the HoloLens 2. They were supposed to come out with it last year with the rumors. And there was another company, I can't think of what it's called, that's coming out with their kind of AR system this year. And
isn't Google supposed to have some sort of thing?
It's the company that Google invested in it.
Yeah.
But imagine if you put those on, I mean, you could play a standard Xbox One game, and it would be like, playing it on like a large screen. So it could play any game, right?
Well, that's
maybe just
like,
not an AR mode, almost like VR mode.
I think it might have been smart that they pulled back on it because the messaging would have been confusing. Unlike PSVR and the Vive and the Oculus, you didn't put it wasn't full on VR. It had a really shallow depth of field, I think, and it was just different. It was more like the Google glasses and like the AR stuff that you see on your phones than those. And it would have been tricky for them to explain to the average consumer, like, okay, this is we're calling it VR, but it's really not. It's AR. Like the messaging, I could see how that could get lost in the field and the sea of all those other true VR systems. So Sony has shown a pretty high level of success with their PSVR. They've sold a bunch, more than they even wanted to. Like they set a realistic goal of like, I think it was like 2 million they wanted to sell in a year, and they exceeded that.
Wow.
So Sony was happy with that. And one of the predictions we had from last year was, I was like, I think they're going to show a big push for PSVR games. I want them to show, people like me who invested in one, that it wasn't just this peripheral like the Move. They came out one year. It was a buzzword like VR, VR, VR. And, they showed Skyrim, and they showed Doom, and they showed, that the game with a little mouse or whatever. Like they showed a bunch of VR games. Like they one after the other, they showed a bunch of games. So it showed me that they were invested in it. And they keep, releasing games, and they're doing a lot of PC ports, which is fine. They're very limited with the hardware, but they're still releasing games, so they're not giving up
At least
on
they
it.
still support it. Unlike the Vita. Which
Yeah, the Vita.
It's dead.
It's interesting though that you point out that Microsoft doesn't have a VR because they've dropped the Kinect.
Yeah.
And if they were to do a VR, it would be integrated with the Kinect.
Yeah.
But they've just completely dropped it.
Which is weird because on Windows 10, they pushed VR with a mixed reality thing on Windows 10 really heavily.
Yeah.
But Xbox One, it's just, they steered clear of all that.
They backed off big time.
So,
It's like they saw the writing on the wall and they a bunch of stuff, like I mentioned that game they pulled back. Like they pulled stuff back. And maybe it'll turn out to be a really smart thing. We're going down this path. Let's stop the path we're going down. Pull our resources back, and then let's rethink things.
yeah, refocus.
Let's refocus on some stuff. Let's improve the technology. Let's get our messaging together. Let's get some exclusives, and then we integrate that lens. And some of my predictions are I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't sure what they would just call it, HoloLens or HoloLens 2 or whatever. Part of me thinks they will rebrand it just because of the lack of excitement, I guess, and the overall population. Like, we know what the HoloLens is, but most people don't know.
Yeah.
They know what an Oculus is. They may know what a Vive is, and they're probably familiar with PSVR because you see it in like Target. So maybe they brand it as something else. I don't know, but I think that they will. I think that they're not just going to let Sony run away with that.
Yeah. And other competitors. I mean, they're, Apple's rumored to be doing something.
And by the way, make it compatible with PC, not just Xbox.
Yeah.
And so they have the most powerful hardware. So that's the thing that the PSVR lacks. Obviously, they have the least powerful hardware. They can't compete with the Vive and the Oculus.
Yeah.
They're doing the best they can. I think they're doing a pretty decent job, but they do have the inferior hardware. So Microsoft can come in. It's another one of those things that they can show that they're superior in. So I think you're going to see the HoloLens, and they're going to integrate it with Halo 6. I think they're going to have some sort of announcement with Halo 6, and it's going to have they're going to bring out the lens, and they're actually going to show some stuff. Whereas before we were only reading about this, thing they did with Halo 5. I think they're going to show you a demo similar to what they did with Minecraft a couple years ago. With, on the table, they had the Minecraft build on the table.
Yeah.
You're going to see it this time.
You can see your maps and all that.
Yeah, so you're going to see a Half-Life 3 announcement followed by some cleanse the palette a bit with some indie games and whatever. And then I think they're going to introduce Halo 6. They're going to tease it, and they're going to tease some sort of the whole game's not going to be in virtual reality, but I think there'll be an element just to kind of
features
show
of it. Yeah. As we're talking here, I almost wonder if, and this is kind of pushing it, but the new HoloLens could technically do VR and AR. So they could, start to get more of the PSVR competition.
Yeah.
So you could technically play Halo 6 in VR, or if you don't like that, you can play it on your TV, and then you've got the HoloLens on the go.
That'd be cool.
So it's almost Xbox on the go now.
Oh, man.
And you can see things on your table. That could be killer.
Another thing that I think that they would do would be in their best interest is, since they have Mojang, release an in earnest VR version of that game. Whatever it was they demoed a few years back, take the building blocks that they had built with that, and then show a more complete game, like a branded game, not just a tech demo anymore. But it's odd that Microsoft bought them, but they're still all the Minecraft games. It's not odd because it's smart. You're going to make more money this way, but they're on every platform. You're not. I mean, wouldn't it be better to save Minecraft for your system, and then sell Xboxes that way? Everybody loves Minecraft still. So, but this could be their exclusive route. They have, you can play Minecraft on any system, and it's integrated with Nintendo, and well, not Sony because they're weird that way. but then they're like, but here's a VR experience unlike you've ever seen, and it's all in 4K and all. Like they showed 4K stuff last year. Make it like HoloLens, a VR game. So I think that would be huge. I think that would give them three big exciting things. And then you pepper in like your Battletoads and your Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
They could be like your interstitials in between. Get people talking and buzzing. They may still be buzzing about Half-Life, but you're like, damn, now they're going to do Battletoads too? Like, Microsoft is kicking ass. Like they're actually doing something, and they have all the money to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of them doing it. Really, I think.
Yeah.
Are they motivated enough to do it? So I don't know. I think they could. If they want to win E3, this is the plan for them, I think.
And I think there'd be other games peppered in too. So this would be a multi-platform, but I think GTA 6 is going to be announced at this E3.
Yeah. I don't know. With Red Dead coming out
Well,
now,
I think you're going to see a teaser at least for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've been working on Red Dead a lot.
Right.
But, I think GTA
But it's
6,
ready.
It's around
coming
the
out,
corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been out, GTA 5, I'm not sure how long it's been out there, but it's been a while. It's been a while.
And it's still, like, always high on the charts selling. Yeah. And when they introduced that online edition or whatever, like, it just kept it going and going and going. Now, Red Dead have the legs of a Grand Theft Auto? And if so, then that could be their thing they focus on for the next 3 or 4 years.
I would be surprised, but...
There's no doubt that there's a Grand Theft Auto 6 around the corner. They're going to do it. If they announced it, where would they announce it? Would they announce it at Xboxes, or would they actually announce it first on the Sony conference? Because here's what I know about Sony. Sony has come out and has said in advance, we're focusing on 4 games. They're focusing on Last of Us 2. They're focusing on this new Kojima game. What's it called? Something Standing.
Crazy,
It's got like Norman Reedus or whatever. I mean, that's that game.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, I think is definitely what it's called. They're focusing on that, and they're focusing on, let's see, Spider-Man, I think is one they're maybe focusing on. And what's not Days Gone, but there's a 4th one. Can't think, but so they're focusing on 4 big games. It's not to say that they're not going to talk about anything else, but in my mind, they're probably going to have, like they did that God of War demo for like 5-10 minutes, and then the Spider-Man demo for like 5. They're going to do things like that for all 4 of those games. I don't think that there's any reason for them to put that message out and then not follow through on it.
I think it kind of depends on who's got a worse E3 announcement. If it's Xbox, it'll probably be Xbox that says, hey, we got GT 6.
That would be a big win because Rockstar has typically been in Sony's corner. So that would be interesting.
We'll see.
Microsoft.
Yeah. It's probably going to be Sony, and they'll have exclusive maps or levels or features or something. Cars, maybe.
Now, for me with Microsoft, and this is the last thing that I personally have, if they don't do all of these amazing things that we're talking about here, the only other thing they can do, if they have any hope of, salvaging the last couple years of the Xbox, taking advantage of this new system that they got people to buy, would be a couple of new IPs, completely new, not based on anything else, and like something along the lines of a what was that Anthem? That game I know that Anthem is BioWare, but it would have to be something epic and exciting. Now, if they showed a couple of new IPs, and the reason I say this is for last because I can't imagine even what they would be.
You think it's a lot more fun BioWare game, maybe?
No. They got their hands full with Anthem trying to get it out for 2019. I don't know. I don't know what developers other than Rare. I don't know who they have in their back pocket. They don't have a lot, so that's what they need to get.
Maybe they need to buy some studios.
They need to. That's what everybody says. Nintendo's been surviving on in-house, but I mean, even they have like retro and things like that.
Yeah,
they have a few, but Microsoft really doesn't. So if they are working on 2 secret new IPs, and like leaks the way they happen, Nintendo keeps a tight. Like they always manage to keep their surprises. Sometimes they'll leak right before, but they're really good at keeping surprises. I don't know if I can say the same for like Sony or Xbox. To an extent they can keep them a surprise, but people hear things. And perfect example like that Tomb Raider game that people were like, "Oh, I saw a guy in a subway in Canada like working on the Tomb Raider game," and here, sure enough, a couple years later, things just happen. So, that's the other route that Microsoft could take is here's these 2 new exciting IPs. And they could be on the level of like that game Core that came out that not a lot of people got too excited about. Or what was that other game that they had where it kind of manipulated time and like kind of was like bullet timing kind of thing. And, quantum something. it looked kind of cool, but at the same time, like I played Max Payne. That's kind of old, you know. Like I don't need to play that. And it, you know, I think it sold okay, but it just didn't sell a system. That's what you're looking for as a system seller. And to me, go the route that we talked about, the things that would make it exciting. For sure, buy a studio and get some new IPs going because people are getting sick of the old games.
Yeah,
I think. And you know, Sony's kind of found success recently rebooting some series. So you know, what could they even
with their HD remakes that what you're talking about?
Well, like God of War. I mean, God of War came out.
Oh, I see.
And it's you know, they reimagined it. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Perfect Dark could be that.
It could be.
You know, and they could even do an HD remake of the 360 game and fix it. You know?
I was going to say, are people clamoring for a game they didn't play to begin with?
It's Microsoft. They've got to,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, for them to win, these are the things they need to do. And Nick, you made a good point. You know, Martin's like, these are the things that I think are going to happen. I'm going a little bit bigger. I admit these are probably not things because Microsoft's track record has shown here recently that they've focused on the wrong shit. You know, they focused on the entertainment media stuff, the Kinect. That was, you know, they came right out of the gate with Xbox
They were in the
One.
wrong direction.
Oh, yeah.
In the beginning.
So they're focusing on the wrong things. Then they do something like buy Mojang, and then, is it Mojang or Mojang? I'm not sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I've always said Mojangs.
Okay. It could be Mojang. But
Bojangles.
whatever. Like, they did this thing, they bought them, but then they make it available for anybody. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And, you know, and then they do things for their fans, like Xbox Live is an amazing service. Backwards compatibility, everybody wants it. They did it. They made it good. So, you know.
I like it. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, Microsoft is listening to their fans, I feel like. But, you know, commit. Jump, like, you know, get off the pot. Do something, you know. Don't just be content with what you're doing now. Or you're going to find yourself out of it completely. So, I don't know. I guess that's all we really have to say. Nick, did you have any comments for, like, Xbox, Microsoft?
Well, no. Some of my things I'll wait until we get to Sony.
Okay.
Because it's things that will most likely appear on Xbox and PlayStation.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have one out of left field I was thinking of that
all right.
that this is so dumb they would probably do this.
Okay.
And it would be a rare game. You know how they came out with the rare like collection, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, people liked it.
But they would make a Mario Kart-esque game based off of all their characters.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that is out of left field.
They would do that.
A kart
racing game
with
like Killer Instinct and Battletoads.
Oh my god.
Oh man, you see like Jago and Bee Orchard like driving a cart and like the Battletoads guys.
Or a fighting game or something.
It could happen.
We'll see.
You never know.
If that happens, do credit to
That's
Martin.
right. That's right. Get the like.
Okay, well, kart racer aside, we'll see. We'll see. I
know.
mean, who knows? It's possible. So let's go ahead and switch to Sony, the undisputed kings of this generation. You know, they came out strong. They sold really well, even though they didn't have a lot of games necessarily, like exclusive games. But then about 3 years ago, they started nailing them one after the other. You know, it really took until like Bloodborne for them to kind of like say, this is the game for PlayStation that you can play, that you can't play. Remember that? Sony didn't have any exclusives for
That got me interested in it. I mean, I was like, wow, looks good.
They released it was it Resistance, the series that they'd had?
I never really got into those, quite honestly.
I thought they were kind of fun, but that was like the big release game, if I remember correctly. Although I think it was a fine game, it wasn't broken. It did set the world on fire. So
it was kind of like their Halo competitor in a way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So.
It's like they had Killzone and they had this other game, and I can't think of the studio that made those games, but they're still around. Is it Insomniac?
Gorilla something maybe?
Is it Gorilla or Insomniac? I don't know. It's one of those. It's one of the ones that are still making games for them nowadays, but they don't make Resistance games anymore. It could be Gorilla now that they're doing the Horizon.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Which that was an awesome game. You know, PlayStation exclusive
for sure. Now and they had like Detroit Being Human. It's coming out soon, and they.
God of War,
which is a huge success. Like that game is getting like Zelda, Breath of the Wild reviews. I'm gonna buy it, but I'm gonna wait until it goes on sale because
Same
thankfully,
here.
thankfully with these Sony and Microsoft games,
Cheapdads.com.
cheap ass gamer, you gotta follow them on Twitter, buddy.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be like $40 soon, and probably even 30 before you know it. But I mean, they're selling a ton of games, and then they've just got them coming out one after
The
the other.
Shadow of Colossus remake.
Yep,
Yeah.
that kind of came out of
And that
left field
studio's
last year.
apparently redoing another game they have announced.
Is it gonna be Ico?
I hope.
I don't know.
I do too.
I don't know.
Actually,
I actually liked Ico better than Shadow of the Colossus. Is a beautifully atmospheric game, but Ico is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
I'm playing that new Colossus right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How are the
redoing Ico would be
controls?
great.
Can you confirm whether or not the controls make it more playable now?
I don't know if it's because I'm old or what, but it's like when I run around with that guy, it's like I'm drunk and I don't know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
It's like which button jumps and which button gets on my horse. And,
Yeah.
And I think it's just because I'm getting old and I don't know, but.
You become a suckier gamer when you get older. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh, it's so weird.
Yeah.
But and really, I'd have to look at how the old game played to really kind of compare what might be different.
Well, you got the PlayStation 3 remake, didn't you?
Yeah,
And you played it some.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
you can't
played a
really
little bit.
remember.
yeah. I don't really remember, but I mean, I love it. It looks great.
Yeah.
And
I plan to get it too, eventually.
I've got it. I just haven't had time for it.
Nick, why don't you start us out with Sony, since Martin led us off with Microsoft,
all right,
being
well,
the big Xbox fan that he is.
and like I kind of said before, I mean, some of these things will be like
Cross-platform.
cross-platform. Well, except some of these is like just obvious things that I figure they're going to show some more Shenmue 3.
Oh, yeah.
Is
that still in Kickstarter, or did Sony pick that up?
well,
I know
it's
Sony gave some money for that.
I don't think necessarily Sony came in and gave him anything.
no,
No?
I don't think they did.
Somehow
I mean,
thought
they
did.
blew away their Kickstarter.
Oh, they blew it away big time.
but
Fast.
But
Like,
yeah,
within the first couple of hours, they nailed it.
and I mean, it's coming out. What is it? Shoot, I don't even remember. I think it's only coming out on PlayStation 4.
Probably. Now, do you think that'll
Oh,
get a
so
release
it's not
date?
Xbox at all?
I don't think so.
See, that's what led me to believe that Sony put some money towards that.
I'd have to look, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's something that they would make. It would be more. They would be talking about it more, especially coming into E3 if Sony did have a stake in it. That's what makes me think they don't, because they're pushing a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Like even that game Days Gone, they're not even pushing all that hard. So that's I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they could be to keep it exclusive, like you say. Maybe they are doing something, but anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't even remember what the release date for that was. Like 2019.
Well, with
maybe?
Kickstarters, it's
Yeah, I
weird,
think
right?
so.
Yeah. So
Do you think we'll get a release date then at this E3?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like,
I think we already got a year.
Yeah,
I think
because
it's
I
2019,
think
yeah.
when they first did the Kickstarter, like a couple years ago, they said 2019.
Okay.
And I remember at that time thinking, like, man, that's gonna be a while. But here it is. We're almost
Here
there.
we are. Yeah, it's just around the corner.
But
So we'll get some maybe playable demo, playable version of it, or
I don't. I would doubt playable.
so just some
Probably a good
trailers.
video.
Some videos,
Yeah.
I think.
like a sizzle reel.
I think we'll see some videos. But
Yeah, probably a 10, 15-minute playthrough video.
Oh, you think we'll see that?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay.
If not, that's a concern.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now here's the one that I kind of am constantly hoping for, but never comes.
Yeah.
But and they keep saying is in the works, is Namco's version Tekken Cross Street Fighter.
Oh.
You know, when they did Street Fighter Cross Tekken years ago, Namco was going to make their version also, and they've done Tekken 7 now, where they've had Akuma in it.
Yeah.
They even had Geese Howard from SNK in it,
Yeah.
and and that was pretty cool.
What do you think the holdup with that game is?
I think they wanted to let Tekken 7 shine,
Okay.
and now it's done that.
Let it breathe.
Although now they've got Soul Calibur coming out, so
Oh, wow.
And that's Namco, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that doesn't look good for Tekken Cross Street Fighter, but I think it's time. At least tell me yes, it's still in the works. Like they keep saying, like for all these years, they keep saying, yeah, we're still doing it.
So as far as a playable roster, like what do you see in that game?
Well, Heihachi from the Tekken side, he was like always my favorite anyway.
Right.
Nina, Law, Paul, Street Fighter side, the obvious Ryu, Chun-Li, Ken, Zangief. Bison.
Is that the kind of game that they would trickle out some DLC as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's just what people do now.
Yeah.
That's just what they
Nobody
do.
just gives you everything off the top of their head. I wasn't just sure. Like
They would plan that in advance before the game even comes out, like all these years worth of characters
season.
that they would.
Season pass, man. What a crappy
getting
day
old.
that's been.
But maybe it would be nice though if they would release like 2 characters at once. Like you'd get like the SNK and the Capcom.
Oh yeah, one from each side.
Why
wouldn't they
SNK,
do that?
Namco.
Namco, I'm sorry.
The Tekken and the Street Fighter character like all at once. You know?
Why wouldn't they do that? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I mean,
and it would make people more excited to play the game, wouldn't you think? Just have one character. Like you could have an instant match with 2 new characters and have more fun with it.
Yeah, like with Street Fighter 5, you get like one character every 3 months or something.
That's ridiculous. That's so weird.
I mean, there's like 4 or 5, something like that come out for like the year.
And I guess that game is doing well enough in those like Evo or the competitions that they have to keep it relevant and alive. Because I mean, it's Street Fighter.
Yeah,
Right.
And they need to have games that everyone agrees is good enough to be in the competition. So Street Fighter is just a tight fighting game. It's Capcom fighting, and so it's a perfect game that they would have in their competition. But I think that sucks. they distribute it that way.
Yeah.
They need to be in packs. They have to have like packs of 2 at least. And even if they could do 3 or 4, that would be optimal for me.
Yeah.
That would get me as a Street Fighter fan way more charged up to get the game back out and have your friends over and jump online and play the game. You got 4 new characters. Give me a break.
Yeah, and I don't know what's worse. Just knowing that there are these new characters coming out and you don't know who they are and just waiting to even find out, or knowing who they are. Like when they announced like this season's characters, they announced like the whole lineup all at once. Mm-hmm. And so I knew Sagat's finally coming. Yay, I'm happy. But he's the last one, and you're waiting like an entire year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So
I don't like that. I don't like that ambiguous like schedule like Nintendo did with their Versus games. Like, give me dates.
Yeah.
Give me something. Don't just give me a batch and then like we promise it's coming. You don't know in what order necessarily. But,
people can't wait. Come on, Nintendo.
yeah. Anyways, this is Sony. We're just itching to get into Nintendo. Okay, Martin, what do you think would be something that Sony would do?
Sony, I think we're definitely going to see some sneak peek of PS5.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
That's actually something I wrote down. So I did have a Sony exclusive thing.
Okay.
I put down that we'd probably see that.
Yeah.
So even though they deny it, really, because there was that story that came out not that long ago.
Oh, they've been working on it.
For sure. They've been working on it as soon as they released the PlayStation 4. There's no doubt about that. We know how that works. But do they kill the momentum that they've... I mean, here's the thing.
The sales of the system are kind of flatlining.
Are they really, though?
Because
I thought maybe they were pulling ahead again in Nintendo. Because Nintendo kind of owned it for a couple months or 6 months or so.
No, it came out recently. They're starting to flatline on their system.
Well, what's the highest selling PlayStation 2 console? Sony, is it PlayStation 2? Is that the one that sold the most? Or was it PlayStation, the original?
I think it's 2.
2. And that was what, around 150 or so?
I'm not sure.
Is a bunch. And so, like, I don't know exactly where they are right now, but they're somewhere in the range of, like, 80, I think. Mm-hmm. So they could still get up to that 160, I think. I think this system has the legs and the juice, especially with the Pro or whatever that they released. I wrote it down too. It was something that I just kind of thought like it's the place to announce it. E3.
It's some kind of hardware. I feel like some kind of hardware should be coming out.
Now, is this something that they trot out at the very end, or where do they do this? Because we know where they're focusing on the 4 big games that are coming out in the next year. So
It's weird because they still have the PlayStation 3, right? You don't know how long that's going to be.
do they really? Are they making games for PlayStation 3?
I don't know.
still?
I thought they were.
No,
Is it
I don't
dead
think so.
now? Is
I
it
think
officially,
it's dead.
It's officially gone?
I think it's dead.
Okay, all right. So it's dead, right?
Yeah, the
Okay,
Vita's dead.
So Vita's dead.
In fact, they
So-
just recently announced that no more physical media for Vita.
Right. So it's like, okay, you've got the PlayStation 4, you've got the Pro.
Mm-hmm.
You know the 5's coming.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't know if it's this year or next
Yep.
for the announcement. I think it could be this year. But I think there could be potential for like maybe a PlayStation 4 portable thing
Now that I can see a bit more.
to kind of like bridge the gap between the PlayStation 5 maybe in a couple years down the road. You could play all
Like,
your...
would it be a hybrid like Nintendo Switch? Because they did research that, right? Didn't they put some research money into that?
I think it would be almost like the new version of the Vita, but it's basically just a PlayStation 4 mobile.
Well, they couldn't dock it like a hybrid
Right.
because that would kill the 5, right? That would make no sense.
Right.
And what would you do? Have like all the games just be digital downloads?
It'd be
only?
digital downloads only. Yeah. And you could play all your digital games on it. I don't know about the PS3 games. That'd be nice if it were backwards compatible. But
Sony's weird because they still, as far as I know, have that PlayStation Now, right?
Oh,
that's
the
not
streaming
dead.
service?
Yeah, I don't think that's dead or
don't know.
anything.
yeah,
Nobody I know talks about it. And the people that I did hear about it initially talk about it said, it's what you think. You know, there's a bit of lag because it's streams. So it's not perfectly compatible, backwards compatible. You want it to play on your hardware. You know?
Yeah.
You don't want to stream it.
it's just not. That's just not working out for them because it's like with the Vita, they had the whole you could stream, and I kind of bought it for that. But even on like
it works. I
5
did it for
gigahertz,
Destiny.
it's like still jumpy at
Yeah,
times.
it's not perfect because even though like you were on a local network, it felt it was not reliably connected.
No.
Like, and I've got a fast connection at home. You know, like it didn't it didn't work. I don't think the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. But I mean, they had the right idea, like a high-end portable system, and that's what I'm like. If they could totally crush the Switch.
Could they?
Not from a pricing standpoint, but I think from a mobile standpoint, people, if you could play, God of War on the go, Destiny
We've
1
been
and
there
2 on
before,
the go.
though. People have said,
would
like,
do
wouldn't
it.
it be great to play an Uncharted game on the go?
But here's the thing: if it's the same hardware, where the developers don't have to,
So you're talking about like
customize
an
it,
actual
if they
PlayStation
could,
4.
a PlayStation 4, if they could figure out how to get it on the mobile, on a
it would be
handheld.
nice too if they did something like that, and so like you say, all the games would be digital download.
Yeah.
If you did have like the big boy PS4 and you had the disc like in the system, that it would recognize, okay, you've got the disc in the system, and will allow then that you can get the downloaded digital copy. Of
Well, they
this game.
They did that with PlayStation 4 and Vita, kind of, didn't they? Like, if you bought
did
the
they?
game physical,
Yeah, I
you
think
got
they
to
tried to do
download the
something.
if
and then
if there
it's
was
like
a.
tied to your account.
Yeah.
I think
It
so.
would definitely have to be locked down a little bit.
But I think they were like smaller games, like they weren't big first, AAA games or anything.
Right.
I want to say they were like smaller indie type games
Yeah.
because it would look the same whether you played it on a PlayStation 4 or a Vita.
But would there be any way though that it would recognize like that particular game
in the system,
as opposed to like the same game, but so just so you couldn't take the game and give it to a friend and let them download it too.
I don't know.
That
There's probably some kind of ID or barcode on each disc.
that's what I'm wondering is if so then it could be like, oh, this one's already been done.
Yeah.
I can.
It's a long shot, guys.
Now, I said previously in another episode that it's like if anyone was going to get back into the handheld game, it's going to be Sony. But then almost as soon as I said that, they made an announcement like, we're not interested. It was almost like, you don't know what you're talking about, Ron. I felt that way. Like, we saw your little show and we're like, no. but I still believe they could.
I think they could.
Because PSP was very popular and
extremely popular.
The Vita, I think I feel like there was this kind of miscommunication once again. It came out in between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, but it was supposed to be more like for the PlayStation 4.
It was like an awkward power level, right?
Very awkward power level. So if you were to bring it out and soon, and it's equal to a PlayStation 4, could be very popular. I don't know, but then at the same time, I really think they would probably announce a PlayStation 5 before they would do that.
Probably,
because that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, right.
The only thing about PlayStation 5, it's not a matter of when, obviously, or if, but when. And are they willing to put the message out to people that there's this new thing coming? Don't buy the PlayStation 4. That's stupid. They don't want to do that. They have all these games that are coming out, and
it's got to be backwards compatible if they're going to do that.
They really ought to.
With the
They got to be
PS4.
smart about that.
If they didn't, they would be stupid.
They were that odd technology they use with PlayStation 3. Now with the 4, it's more computer. It's like more of a computer kit.
Yeah.
I hope that if they did something similar but just bigger with PlayStation 5, it will be more easily backwards compatible. You'd think, right? But then,
you never know.
You're right. You never know.
People kind of expect things to be backwards compatible anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess
well,
I'm
Switch
kind of,
isn't.
No, I mean it's not. And it's kind of interesting because history's kind of shown very few really were, but everybody's got like in their mind that it just should be this way.
Yeah, you're right. Even going back to the Super Nintendo, like people were upset that they couldn't play their NES games on the Super Nintendo. Like, parents would say, like, well, why do I want to get Nintendo's still on the market? Why would I get an SNES?
Yeah.
So I guess for that reason, Nintendo
well, at least they
waited
brought
a
Game
while.
Boy. You could play Game Boy on it. On the Super Nintendo.
But that didn't even come until much later, really.
It's true, but
you're right, Nick. That's the expectation. There was an expectation, even going back to Nintendo, even though they had no history in doing so, that it should be backwards compatible. Now, where did we get that from?
I don't know.
Is it? I don't know. It's not like computers were ever that way. You just bought the new thing, and then you had to buy, or like with media, like VHS to DVD, or records to CD or cassettes to CD. You always have to start your collection over again. But for whatever reason, now there's this expectation that's backwards compatible. That's a good point, Nick.
I don't know what you mean by computers weren't that way.
yeah, you could play. Because it'd be like I could play on
I
Windows
guess that's not
95
true.
and
Yeah,
Windows
okay,
98.
so maybe that's where the expectation.
Yeah,
comes
that's probably
from.
where it came from.
In my mind, I was lining up the whole like media with movies and audio, and I just tossed computers out there.
I wonder if like Atari was one of the first ones to do it because you could play 2,600 games.
The 7,800.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Good. Maybe that's where the expectation. But then again, not that many people bought a 7,800. So, as far as like the zeitgeist,
That was like right at the crash.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same thing with Microsoft and the Xbox One. That's why they're having to dig up the Xbox original games to
To
run
get people
on. Yeah, I mean, it's like,
we got something, Okay,
I mean, what are they going to get next? Like Sega Saturn games on there?
I think like the biggest time period to do it, and this is probably where everybody decided this needs to be the norm from here on out, was like with the like you were saying Xbox 360 and the original Xbox and also the PlayStation 3 was doing it with PlayStation 2 games. But then they remodeled
for a little
it.
bit,
Yeah,
just in the very beginning.
Then they got the new model and it didn't do it anymore. but
sucks.
it was that early time period where the new consoles went through the.
So it's almost like there was this
360 came
promise.
Well, it was the user base was so huge.
Yeah, you're right. There was a big
360
user
and
base,
PS2.
and it was a promise, and it seemed reasonable because there's CDs and DVDs and stuff, Blu-rays, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't
everything
like a new like cartridge
cartridge-based,
kind
yeah.
of format.
Right.
Everything's these CDs, and so it's all the same.
Right. That's what you're probably right. That's probably where that sort of expectation came from. It's just the previous couple of generations.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. All right. So we got the PlayStation 5, possibly a new handheld. I could see those things possibly happen. As far as software goes, I'm thinking Bloodborne 2 is an obvious thing. I think that's going to be the next far out, maybe 2020 game. People want it.
Yeah.
Bloodborne was pretty popular. It was like the first big PlayStation exclusive game in my mind. There was like the Order that game came out and was not a big deal, but Bloodborne came out and was kind of a big deal. Not to everybody because it's such a tough game, it doesn't appeal to everyone, but PlayStation fans are pretty loud, and they talked about that game, and that's the game that they championed for a long time. Now they got all kinds of other games to champion. You don't hear Bloodborne so much anymore. But for me personally, like when I was thinking about getting like a PlayStation, people would always say, "Oh, Bloodborne, that you got to get a PlayStation for Bloodborne." So I think Bloodborne 2 is a game that you'll probably just see like a teaser. I think you'll see like some sort of cinematic, and it'll be vague, kind of, you won't even really know what game it's for, and then a main character that's unique to that series. It'll be so minuscule, like there'll be no gameplay footage. It'll just be like a teaser.
I almost wonder if that's going to be a PS5 title.
Yeah,
like they'll show it for PlayStation 4, and then it'll just roll over to PlayStation 5.
I will defer to you, Martin, because you've proven that you...
What's that?
Do it Nintendo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I can see them doing that.
Martin's got a nose for that kind of thing going on. Okay, another one for me. I think we might see a Jack and Dexter HD collection, because that's all the rage now.
Yeah.
I'd
love to see a new Jack and Dexter game.
I don't think they'll do that just because Naughty Dog has got their hands tied with so many things.
Well, what are they doing right now?
Well, Last of Us 2 is like what they're working on now.
Oh.
And that's such a huge game. I could see them, on the other hand, outsourcing it to a company. And because, Crash Bandicoot was a big success. Mm-hmm. There's a Spyro collection, I think, that is coming out.
Yeah.
So Jack and Dexter, it only makes sense that they could get somebody to source it out.
That makes sense.
And it's not going to be like a huge deal, but there are those fans that are out there that are going to want it because there were a lot of Jack and Dexter games.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Naughty Dog. Didn't you just recently learn something new about Naughty Dog?
Yeah, why don't you let people know, Nick? Go ahead.
Way of the Warrior.
Oh god, one of the worst games ever for the 3DO.
I don't believe you didn't know that was them.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you kind of ridiculed me a bit because I'm pretty sure I told you that, and it might be one of those things that I reacted to it because I was like, whoa, because I sent you a message. I was like, Nick, can you believe that Naughty Dog? And you were like, that's why I don't really think Naughty Dog's all that great of as a company as people make them out to be now. There's no doubt that some of their more recent games.
That's not necessarily what I said, but when I hear their name,
they're not infallible.
That's the first thing that pops in my mind is they're
so
the
most people
think
Drake and Uncharted and Last of Us. You think Wave the Warrior, one of the shittiest Mortal Kombat ripoff clones.
Trying to forget that game, all right?
The 90s.
It looked decent enough.
Yeah, sure. The screenshots on the back of boxes.
Until you kind of see it in motion, and
that's where it falls apart.
And really, until you play it.
But I don't think Naughty Dog would spend the resources to put it out, but I think that they could outsource it. Whether or not they care enough to do it is another thing. I don't know. I want to talk for a little bit about PSVR. I think there's going to be another big wave of PSVR games they'll do. I think they're going to have a Wolfenstein 2 version of PSVR for the PSVR, similar to what they did with Doom last year, and not with the same company. Yeah, gosh.
Id? Talking about id?
Id. Well, yeah. Id did Doom,
yeah.
And then Bethesda did Skyrim or whatever. But I think you'll see a similar. I think that worked out well enough for them to bring out like a Wolfenstein 2 similar. Like the locomotion is similar. It's not like fully like a full-on first-person shooter in VR. I think there's concessions they had to make. I haven't played it, and it's cheap enough. I'll check it out eventually. But I think you could see that. This is a left field way out there. A Twisted Metal collection in HD.
Oh, wow. That would be awesome.
With a PSVR component to it. I want to be in that ice cream truck, man.
I'd play it on PS4 mobile.
Yeah.
Right. Portable,
That's a thing now, apparently.
PS4
it's
portable.
For sure happening.
PS4P.
I think there'll be a Battlefront 2 PSVR experience, similar to what they did with Battlefront 1.
Oh, yeah, just like a...
And I think
like
it'll be
one board or something.
Yeah, and I think it'll be tied into the Han Solo movie. Somehow.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
So I think that'll be like a big. These
Fly
are out there.
Falcon.
Fly the Millennium Falcon
cool.
and PSVR, and it'll just be like an experience, 15, 20 minutes long. Really cool. I think we'll get an announcement for Resident Evil 8.
Speaking of Resident Evil, one of the things I wrote down is a remake of Resident Evil 2.
But that's not a thing already?
Has it been announced? I think there's been rumors.
I don't know. Okay, I'll defer to you on that because I'm not sure.
I don't know if it's been in.
So like a full-on remake
Like more
in
than
HD.
the GameCube version?
Well, yeah, similar to the GameCube version of Resident
Just all
Evil
3D.
when they remade 1.
I didn't get the
But-
first remake. Did they redo the controls so they weren't tanky?
No, they're still tanky.
Okay, okay. So the 2 would be tanky
Yeah,
as well.
because
Right.
I actually, when that remake of the first Resident Evil came out on like PS4 and Xbox One, I think, I downloaded it and I tried to play it again. And I've played it on GameCube, like when it first came out on GameCube, and I played through it and beat it and loved it.
Yeah.
But I was still like in that tank mode, at the time.
Right.
Well, now when the PS4 and Xbox One version came out, it's been a long time since I've played anything like that, and I couldn't get into it.
Oh, jeez.
I could not get into it.
It's been too long.
It was too long, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do the controls.
They didn't have a controls adjustment or anything in that?
Oh, you know what? I feel like
I thought
they were
they
supposed
did,
to.
but
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I didn't like mess with it enough or something.
I might have been too lazy to check. But.
Yeah, I think I was too lazy to check because I think you're right.
You were already like, meh. But that would be cool. I could see that.
But they definitely need to update the controls though.
Yeah.
That would be nice. I think
Which
people
is what
really
I've heard
appreciate
that they are doing. There, I guess they've announced like a Shenmue remake, like the first game. I think isn't that right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
that they are redoing the controls.
That's awesome.
I hadn't heard that, but I'm
really
aware
looking
of.
forward to that. Yeah, they'll show that then. I'm sure.
I know you give me no credit and you say I'll never play it, but I want to try it. It's like something I'd like
Play
to
it.
try.
Get a Dreamcast.
Nick is convinced. Nick
Where's your
knows me.
Dreamcast?
Nick knows me so well. I mean, he's saying these things for a reason, obviously. Like there are times where like I'll say like, "What's it like?" and you're like, "You wouldn't like it."
Yeah,
It's an experience.
You'll check it out, but
You'll like the vending machine.
You'll drop it.
You know, like the vending
You'll
machine.
like the vending machine.
Oh man, I
the
love
best
that.
part,
Just like
right?
buying stuff in the little capsule machines.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, look at that.
Oh, okay, like the little Japanese vending machines or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you get like the little toy machines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get little collectibles.
I want to play it to spite you. That's what I want to do. I want to beat it. I'll be like, your face. Like, how'd you like it? It was miserable. I really had to fight my way through it. But it's a game that's so beloved by so many people, and I just don't understand. It's just
Play it.
possible that like
We
a
need to
Final
do a
Fantasy,
video
I'm
with
just
him
not.
playing it.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
Yeah, you need to play the old version with the bad controls.
No, no.
You need to play
I want
on
to play
Dreamcast.
whatever updated best version you
No,
can give me.
you're playing Dreamcast.
No.
Yes.
Well, you want to get me excited for the game, not like torture me like you did with Mega Man. Mega Man 2's out, and you're like, I'll play Mega Man 1. But yeah, I think they'll do some sort of tease similar, like with Bloodborne. It'll just give you like a little teaser of it.
So you think Resident Evil 8 is
Yeah.
already coming? Man, I just got started playing 7.
Yeah, and I think it'll use a similar engine. That's why I think that it's going to come so quickly after. It's been a couple years, right? It's been out for a couple years.
Yeah, it's
It's
been a
time
while.
that you
I
could at
took
least see
while
a
for
teaser.
it.
Yeah, right. And I think it'll be fully playable in PSVR, just like 7. Probably what people say is the best experience for PSVR, is the whole entire game. So there's no reason why I wouldn't think they would just do that again. And I hope they keep it in a haunty, kind of like a house similar kind of thing. I hope it not actiony, just unless they wouldn't it be great if they did like a Resident Evil 4 in PSVR? That would be
Nice,
amazing.
yeah.
They could do that with the Move controllers and stuff. It won't happen, but that would be cool. Martin, you got any other Sony?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see some more Final Fantasy VII remake this year. Hopefully, something playable at E3.
Do you think we'll actually see like some game played out, or just more?
Yeah, I
sizzle
hope
reel
so. I hope it's gonna be actual
So
gameplay.
no more like teases and like videos, like an actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be playing it on the stage.
It better be.
Okay.
If not, then I think
What the hell are we doing,
It's
man?
probably going to be a PlayStation 5 at that point. Then they're gonna
They cannot do that.
or it's just
They
gonna
cannot do that.
or they're just going to push it off as like one of the last PlayStation 4 games.
Last hurrah.
Because they're already saying that Final Fantasy VII is going to be like a series based.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
So I
It's going
mean,
to be one of those, like what? Not Borderlands, but like what's that series of games that like the Batman did it recently, where it's
Yeah.
like they do episodes,
Episodic.
episodic
Yeah.
games. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. Or would it be cool if they gave us a release date finally?
It'd be great if it was in for Christmas.
There's a demo
Hopefully.
available
That's
after
right.
this press
That's
conference.
right. That'd
Those
be
are my
sweet.
favorite. I love
That'd
it when
be
they do
sweet.
that stuff. When they like talk about a game and they're like, it's available right now.
And here's the thing, that any Sony Final Fantasy fanboy that doesn't already have a PlayStation 4 would immediately run out to get a PlayStation 4.
There's
just
a
to
lot
play the
out there
demo,
still that
just
don't
to get
have
that
one. I'm
demo.
sure if they sold 150 or so of the 2s, then there's a lot more people.
Especially
out
for
there.
the Christmas season. I mean, that would be.
I think
they would definitely hold off PlayStation 5.
Well, look at
any
Kingdom
announcement.
Hearts. I mean, like that's still like. I mean, and
yeah.
I do think that's really close because you're starting
Yeah.
to see more like stuff. You're seeing more video of it and stuff now being played.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the other day where there was some over the shoulder footage of they showed Wreck-It Ralph. You know,
Yeah.
so that's coming real close. And that's a game that people always like. I don't think that's coming. I just really don't think it's ever going to come out. They are so weird, Squaresoft. So, is it Squaresoft still, or are they just Square
Enix?
Yeah, Square Enix. They're Square Enix. They're so weird, man. They're so weird how they just draw their releases out. Release the damn game already.
Yeah.
People want it. What's taking so long? I just don't understand. Nick, how interested are you in a Final Fantasy VII episodic game?
No.
Not interested at all. Okay, well, Martin's our Final
pass.
Fantasy guy.
Don't care.
What would you pay for an episode? Like, what do you think they'll release the episodes out at, and how frequently do you think they'll drop?
I think they're going to release it at full price.
Bullshit! No way! You think they'll do
I
that?
think so, yeah.
You think full price,
think so.
$60?
I think so because it'll probably have
that would be a horrible mistake.
a ton of side quests.
That would be
So much.
bad. Oh man! All right.
Yeah, we'll see.
And how frequently do you think the episodes will drop? Will they have them all in the can, ready to go, or are they just developing them as they go?
That's why I'm thinking maybe it's why it's been so long. They probably have episode 1 done, or near done, and then episode 2 is maybe a little over halfway through.
Okay. Well, at that rate, they're gonna the episodes better be lengthy.
Yeah,
'Cause that's a long game, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to creep into the PlayStation 5.
That seems so stupid to me. Maybe you're
It's
right.
gonna
Maybe they
have
will
to.
wait to PlayStation 5.
It's going to have to. And I think that some of those games will force PlayStation 5 to be backward compatible too,
Yeah.
which will be a good thing.
It would be an excellent thing. They'd be in their best interest to do that. Because that way the momentum of the place, like you could still look forward to those games that are coming out at the end of the PlayStation 4 life cycle. You would lose no momentum if you were to promise full backwards compatibility. Because people are just gonna like take the games, play it on PlayStation 5, and trade up their PlayStation 4s, sell them, do the GameStop thing, and get the credit towards the whatever. That's not the way I would
Get
do
their
it.
$5.
Let's put it this way: it's going to be the only thing keeping GameStop alive.
Yeah,
Is the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 trade-in.
yeah, right. A little bit longer,
Yeah.
holding out. Let's see. Do we have any other PlayStation, Sony? Nick, do you have anything?
Yeah. I looked. I don't have any other
Okay.
Sony.
I don't have anything either. I think there will be a pretty good size focus on PSVR, and I think I do firmly believe you're going to see some sort of Bloodborne teaser,
That'd be nice.
It would not surprise me if they did a PlayStation 5 tease too. I think that's more likely than a handheld, but Sony could do it. They've had success. They've tasted success, and Sony is a very proud company. They want to destroy Nintendo anytime they can. So if Nintendo is on the uptick, Sony would want to smash them because that's why the PlayStation exists, to smash Nintendo. All right, so now we're going to move on to the company that we're all probably most excited about, and we could probably speak to more of probably, and that's Nintendo. And it'll be a direct, and there'll be one after the other announcements. But Martin, why don't you start with the Nintendo? Give us one of your big predictions for Nintendo.
So this one kind of had my head scratching because, I'm not really sure exactly what Nintendo's strategy is with like the virtual consoles. It sounded like they were going to. Everyone thought they would, but now it's
It was assumed.
Yeah,
Well, because they had it from Wii, 3DS.
Wii was
Wii U.
awesome. I mean, you had Neo Geo, you had TurboGrafx. That's what I want on the Switch.
Right.
Just those games.
Yeah.
But now they're saying, well, there's going to be subscription based, and they're going to modify the games, so
Which
it can be
sounds cool.
multiplayer. Yeah,
It interests me like to be able to play Super Mario 3 with some sort of online functionality to it. Like I thought it was cool how they said like I could be playing Super Mario 3 and Nick could be online and he could hand a game over to me, and like they're talking about doing stuff like that. It's really cool, and there'll be some sort of competitive leaderboard component to it. And I also like that they're giving you like a good chunk of games to start out with, like 20 games, 20 NES games, in which I can only assume they'll follow it up with some Super Nintendo releases, like maybe 20 Super Nintendo. So is it like a Netflix style, do you guys think? Do you think they're going to release 20, 40 games and then take a few games out at the end of a month, put a few new games in?
possibly.
There may be games that are always in there.
Yeah, and that's what kind of concerns me. Because, I mean, there are just some games that I would just always want.
Yeah. Well, Netflix always seems to have some stuff that's just always on there. So
Well, sure, but would those things be the ones that I want?
true.
Like Super Metroid, if they took that out, it'd be like, that sucks. Why are you taking that out?
Yeah.
It feels like that they've really decided that these minis are their virtual consoles now. That's just what they considered. Like the money that they made in Virtual Console, they made it in their minis. And they just, I don't know, they just want to try something different.
Yeah.
I applaud Nintendo for trying to think, forward think a bit with their online ecosystem. And in September, they're releasing their online service. And it's only $20. Even if they did swap the games in and out, for only $20, I mean, you're getting cloud saves.
Well, there's the
finally.
family plan, right? I mean,
Right,
you could
right,
get
right.
like
We could
7 of your
technically all
friends,
go in
right?
together and get it even cheaper.
Yeah.
$35, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could divide 35, just me, you, and
I'm assuming it's like one credit card on file.
probably.
So we'll put yours on there.
Sure, why not? That'll work out.
But yeah, so along those lines,
Okay.
I really hope that they're going to do something with the GameCube titles.
Oh, okay.
Because like on Wii U, I had a hope that they would bring those over. But please, for the Switch, bring some of the GameCube games, like Super Mario Sunshine. I mean, that game should be brought over.
It's ripe for something.
Yeah, and
It's
the
time.
controls make, they could work well on the Switch.
Well, that was
There's
the
no
thing that
touch.
everyone always talked about was the analog versus the digital triggers. But it's worked out okay for Rocket League.
Yeah.
That was the thing that people were all worried about with Rocket League, and it seems to be not being a big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm not even thinking about that thing as an issue anymore. I hope so. Now, okay. Will they release a collection, or will they swap in out, like the NES games are talking about doing?
See, I don't know if they're going to tie it to subscription, or if they're just going to kind of release these games. It's kind of like the console, the versus thing.
Like they did for Wind Waker for Wii U.
Yeah,
like
an
HD
HD version,
of that.
yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen too. Is they're
I
going to
think that
bring
might happen
they're going to
first.
bring all these Wii U games.
doing
It's
it.
happening.
It's
We're
happening.
getting Smash Brothers.
Right.
They're going to bring.
Well, that's a new game.
Well, it's probably going to be redone.
No, it's
No?
complete. It's a
Oh,
new
is it
game.
really?
It's a new game. They're new cast and everything. Like
Okay.
It's not. They're not bringing the cast over, so don't expect
wow,
that.
okay.
Yeah, it's a brand new game.
Okay.
So and I think they may borrow, like how they do with Mario Kart, like they'll borrow stages and stuff. Like they might
Sure.
be doing stuff like that. But my understanding is it's a new game. So, but you're right.
Yeah, we'll
the Wii
see.
U
We'll see.
the port like tidal wave is
Yeah,
wide open.
because they just
released
released
Diddy Kong. Yeah,
Donkey
with-
Kong Country Freeze,
Right. Not Diddy Kong. Yeah, tropical
Tropical Freeze, or
Tropical
something.
Freeze. Yeah.
Slushy, whatever.
with Funky Kong.
Yeah.
Easy mode. They're coming out all the time, and that's cool. And the Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition,
Yeah.
which
Right.
just came
Is
out.
a Toad Treasure Tracker? Is that coming
Yep,
out?
that's
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to continue to ride that success.
Which
Who
is
can
cool.
blame 'em?
I
Who can blame 'em?
see it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I'll buy them again. Sure, why not?
But bring the other Zelda games if you're going to do that.
Sure.
And
So
if you're bringing the GameCube games, because they're gonna announce, they made the announcement last year for Metroid Prime 4.
Yep.
I don't know if they're gonna do like a trilogy or like an anthology with the Metroid Prime series.
Yeah.
Kind of redo those. That would be awesome.
I've heard people say that same thing.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see but would they do it before or after 4?
That would be one of those things. Available now while you wait for 4.
If you're
Right,
gonna
yeah,
do it,
yeah.
yeah. That would be cool, and it would be
I
unexpected.
would love that.
I won't say it'd be unexpected. It would be unexpected if they did it that way. I think people are kind of thinking that'll happen regardless.
And here's the cool thing: they could have the GameCube style controller play, or they could do the Wii version where it would motion controller.
Aren't the GameCube controllers available to work on the Switch now? Didn't they?
I don't know.
Isn't that controller like compatible now with the Switch? Like they did some sort of update. And because if that's the case, then you wouldn't even have to worry about playing the GameCube games with the Switch.
Yeah, I think
Or
so.
the Switch Pro controller.
Wasn't there like an adapter?
I think so. Because the
like a
the
USB
reason they always
adapter?
do it is because of Smash Brothers. People
Yeah.
always want it for Smash Brothers, and I think that they did that.
So we'll probably get some more controllers with that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're thinking the no-brainer thing for them to do is to introduce some GameCube. Finally some GameCube.
It would flesh out their catalog a little bit more.
Whether it be an HD remake or the original games, just like in a subscription style.
Yeah.
One way or another, they're gonna have to.
Well, the subscription thing, that's not till next year.
September.
Is it this year? I thought it was
It's
2019.
coming right up.
Yeah, I was gonna say December, but yeah, this year I think.
Okay.
I think it's September. Yeah. But I could be wrong.
Hey, either way, I think it's later on this year.
Yeah, it's for sure
Hopefully
coming up
we
pretty
hear
soon.
more about that. I mean,
Oh yeah, I hope so. But the way they do directs, it doesn't lend itself. Like they are just avoiding. They've just avoided the virtual console. It's very weird how they've just steered clear of it so much. And they're real dodgy about questions when it comes to it.
And I think it's kind of, what, I forget which one of you said it before, that they're doing it with their minis now. I mean, because, they just announced that they're re-releasing the NES Mini. So
Right.
yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I believe that.
And they probably make more money that way.
Yeah.
Nick, why don't you give us one of your Nintendo-centric predictions?
A new Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Yes, that would be awesome.
That
I'd
is
like
one of
that.
those games
Yeah.
that people are clamoring
A
for.
Switch version, though. Switch Animal Crossing.
A new
Not
Switch.
a remake. or
Yeah,
anything.
not like, well, I guess there was one on 3DS, wasn't there?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say not like on whatever the handheld, but I mean, Switch is handheld and console. so-
Right.
But yeah, a brand new Switch Animal
Because they never
Crossing.
had one on Wii U.
Right,
It was Wii, but they skipped Wii U.
right.
So there was
So-
no Wii U Animal
Yeah,
Crossing.
Wii-
Well,
We was
there probably was one in development,
Oh,
and they
right.
rolled it to Switch. I
Yeah,
bet.
Yeah.
that happened a lot.
Yeah.
Which is why their titles are like why the library for Switch seems so robust, is they just deferred so many games. Animal Crossing is not really my thing, so Nick's Nick's like, you wouldn't like it. What's the appeal of Animal Crossing, guys? And it just
I
they
don't
just had a
know.
mobile.
It's fun, man.
It's really weird because every single one's been the same thing.
Yeah.
They go back to the NES, don't
Well,
they? Or Super Nintendo?
No,
no,
GameCube.
GameCube.
Oh, was that the first Animal
GameCube
Crossing?
is the
Okay.
first.
And actually, N64 in Japan.
Really?
It came out on N64 in Japan.
You'll have to show that to me.
Yes, it's a port. The GameCube version is a port of the N64 version.
That's interesting.
Yes. Yes, look it up. The GameCube version had the NES games. That's why I like that one the best.
Yeah, it did.
And
yeah.
they took that out in the
Wait,
Wii
wait.
version.
So there was an NES version of Animal Crossing?
No, it had NES
it
games
had-
emulator
like, you
in it.
collect all these things like
You
in
could
the
unlock
game,
it.
and one of the things you could collect was like a little NES that you could like sit in your house. You decorate your house and whatever.
Yeah.
But you could take your guy and sit in front of it and start playing Super Mario Brothers or whatever, and it would just come up on the screen, and you can play Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Like the full game?
The full
Yeah,
game.
the full game.
Yeah, it had like a bunch of NES games.
So that's a Nintendo property.
you would
right?
like find them like
Yeah.
buried
It's not like
like
HAL
in
or
the
anything.
town.
No, it's by HAL.
Oh, it is by HAL?
Yeah.
Okay, because it has those style graphics.
Yeah.
So I think. So is it just collecting stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
furniture.
this pretty much
and
what it
stuff,
is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
do you
for
have,
hoarders.
Do you have like
virtual hoarding.
virtual hoarding? Well, all right. I don't know. I just
And then when the virtual console came out, they quit doing that.
Yeah, because they wanted people to buy them.
Yeah.
damn it. Well, did you guys play the mobile version that came out?
Yeah, I've got it.
Oh, you've got
I mean,
it.
I don't
didn't
really
like
play
as
it right
much.
now.
I didn't like it as much.
Ruth plays it every day.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't like Nintendo's mobile games.
Yeah, I mean
It's
they're
just not-
like they're
right.
cute for a little while and then they just kind of die off.
Are you at all excited for that Mario Kart version mobile game they got coming out? that they announced?
We'll see.
I don't know.
Is it going to be steerable like with the solar?
I don't know.
I think Nintendo's better off just staying on their own consoles.
They're doubling down on mobile though. Like they're. I think the new president
Yeah.
wants to get more into the mobile gaming business. It makes sense. I mean,
They ought to like link it with, the big boy games.
that was the original intent. I think
Right.
was to
Like
steer.
Splatoon.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be steering. Mobile games were supposed to somehow steer to the consoles, but I think they're trying to make them even more than that now. Well, I don't know. Which makes sense why there should be an Animal Crossing game for Switch, because that mobile game, people are still playing it, obviously, so it makes sense, right? Then there was like a Fire Emblem game that's mobile that I think there's supposed to be a new Fire Emblem game that people keep talking about for Switch.
Here's what I don't understand. The Switch is basically a tablet, right?
Right.
Why aren't those versions on the Switch? Because you could take it without the controller.
I think it's because you can't easily do it in docked mode. They're so touchpad centric that you could only do it in handheld, and I don't.
Isn't there like some other game, I forget what
Severed.
it is, that is only you could only play it in the tablet because it had to be
Oh wait,
touchscreen?
there is
it's either
one
Severed or
game.
this rhythm game, Voez or something like that. I don't know how it's
Yeah,
pronounced.
I know there is a Japanese game that's touch only.
Yeah.
But they could do that.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. So, but Animal Crossing, it's a game that fans want really bad. It feels like, because I'll get on Reddit, and anytime there's like any rumor of a direct, there's like a checklist, and Metroid finally got off the list.
Yeah.
And Animal Crossing is perpetually at the top of that. Like, people's days are ruined if they don't mention Animal Crossing. So Nintendo is infuriated. He's like, people obviously want it so bad. Bring it out. Just talk about it.
And I like the ones where you can like the user created kind of things, like you could design like for your t-shirts or whatever, and flags and stuff, like on the what was it, like the DS version, you could use the stylus and like draw stuff.
And it would be in the game. The character would wear it.
You could trade
Yeah,
it.
it would have like a little pattern maker kind of thing, and so you could draw stuff with the stylus, and then it would be on the guy's T-shirt.
That's cool.
Or you could like have a flag.
That
with
was
it, whatever.
that was really appealing on the DS version.
Yeah.
I don't think they had that on the 3DS version though.
I don't remember.
They took that out.
But yeah, I mean those user created things I think were the best.
Yeah.
It keeps the game going for a long time, right? Those communities keep a game alive. Yeah. Even those little drawings that people loved on the Wii U that they kept on for such a long time. Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, and people, that was just a major thing about the Wii U. Like, yeah, okay, the Wii U didn't sell a bunch of consoles, but everybody loved that.
Yeah. It's funny because on the Wii U felt alive, even though it was like a dead console. I mean, because you saw the pictures.
You turn the game on and it's like you're in your face immediately.
You see all this user created stuff.
It's no different than like, fan art. What's that one site that's real popular? It's where people go and they
DeviantArt.
DeviantArt, yeah. DeviantArt, those people that use that function in Wii U, I guarantee are the same people that get on DeviantArt.
Oh yeah, there's some amazing art done on
there
the Wii
really
U.
is.
I'm just impressed.
It's beautiful stuff. Mm-hmm. So they're just so diehard.
Yeah.
Okay, so Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, speaking of community, so Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. Yep. I think we're going to see a Mario Maker on the Switch, maybe a Zelda version.
Oh my God, that would be so awesome.
That'd be nice.
Now, which would you rather have?
Probably the Zelda version, I think.
Yeah, I would have to say I'd rather have the Zelda just to have something new. But
okay,
I'd be super happy just to have Mario Maker again.
What if, let me sweeten the deal for Mario. What if I were to say that they, for the first time, included 3D elements for Maker? Would that make it more intriguing for you?
Very cool. Yeah.
Who knows?
They could do that.
They're just assets, just like anything else, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Forge, Halo did it with Forge. I mean, it's not like it can't be done.
Well, I like in Mario Maker where you can just change the theme, You would just go from, say, the NES version of Zelda to the, I don't know, N64 version or the, Breath of the Wild version. It's possible.
Now, of course, the thing that people always talk about with the Switch is with the Wii U, you could design it and it would be on the screen at the same time. With the Switch, you'd have to do all the designing and then put it and then dock it and play it. It wouldn't be as intuitive as the Wii U version.
Well, you could play it handheld.
I feel like
I would.
Yeah.
I feel like throwing in 3D would just be too much of a beast. That if there was a Zelda maker, that I could totally see it being the top-down 2D Zeldas, and you could switch between, the original Legend of Zelda graphics, A Link to the Past, and Game Boy, Link's Awakening.
Cool.
And Link Between Worlds. Well, but that's more or less just Link to the Past, I guess.
Well, when I'm saying 3D, it's still
it's pretty
lost
much Super
in that
Nintendo.
view, though. Not like Ocarina of Time, third person. Just more top-down 3D.
Well, then that would be
like the
what was the
3DS
name of it? The one you just said, Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would, because that's done in 3D.
Yeah.
But it's a top-down view always.
And that would work.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Be interesting. I haven't really heard that around, and I would like the thing I love about Nintendo. Okay, so I talk about people clamor for games, but Nintendo keeps things so close to their chest. They make announcements, and the games are coming soon. So we know that they have these games that they're working on, but what is the thing that I could see them releasing a Zelda version of Maker, and nobody was expecting it, and they're like, it's coming out in 2019. And oh my God, people would lose their mind. That would be so cool. Yeah. I would rather have that too. I would rather have, just because I have Mario Maker already on Wii U, I bought it. It's still good. I mean, I could still play it. Give me the Zelda Maker. I don't have
Well,
that.
and see, they've got Mario Maker on 3DS.
True, they have it.
So,
so it's even portable.
Yeah. And it's not too bad on 3DS. I mean, quite honestly.
I'll take your word for it. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I got it.
You got it.
Yeah, but
now,
I haven't played it as much as the Wii U.
The big drawback is
it's not as accessible as the Wii U version, obviously.
Yeah.
But
in the online community is true. You can't share, right? You can't just upload a level.
Oh yeah, not the 3DS one.
Right, and that's what makes the Mario Maker game so great, is being able to play other people's stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of kills it. My enthusiasm for the game.
Well, see, the Zelda Maker would have to have some kind of stylus with it, I think.
They could include a stylus. It's just a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Totally.
That seems like a pretty sound prediction. I would like that.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen.
Let's see. What do you guys think about a new Punch-Out game?
They'd probably go for those motion controls like they tried for ARMS.
Yeah.
Which, as long as they give you the option to not use them,
right,
that's fine. Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole slew of game IPs that have been renewed, the trademarks or the license, I guess, from Nintendo. They go all the time. They'll go in. They'll reinstate some sort of the name of they did for the minis. They got the Super Nintendo, and then they went and got the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't released a Game Boy Mini, they went and got the patent for the Game Boy again. So they keep doing that, and I want to say that Punch-Out was one of the ones they did that for not that long ago.
Was that because the Punch-Out Versus, possibly?
Maybe.
Because didn't that just come out, or it's about to come out?
Yeah, it came out already. That's one. Remember that snowboarding game, 1080?
1080, yeah.
That's one they got again. Wave Race is one that they went out and got again.
So some N64 games coming out.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting some announcements for either 1080, Wave Race, or Punch-Out. I think you're going to see some new games. And those are very Nintendo-centric games.
I would buy a Wave Race.
I'd be interested in a Wave Race game.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it's,
why not?
A modernized version of Wave Race. And it feels very Nintendo. It's familiar.
Oh, yeah.
It's a callback to their past. But of all of them, I feel like a Punch-Out game would be the strongest candidate. Because they did it with Super Nintendo. And it was a pretty big hit. And it hasn't been back since, I don't think, right? Or no, there was a Wii game. There was a Wii Punch-Out.
There was a Wii.
Yeah, and I think that was a big hit, too. I didn't buy it, but I think it was a big hit. So it's time. And obviously for Wii, because of the motions. But that's the cool thing about the Switch, is it's capable of doing the motion, but that's not its focus. And smartly. So I'm thinking one of those three games, if not all of those three games, we could see some sort of... in their little style they do, the direct, coming in 2019, Punch-Out, whatever they're going to call it. Okay, here's one that I have. Virtual reality for Switch. They're gonna mention it.
You think so?
Yep, and here's why I think
powerful enough.
Here's why I think they're gonna do it. Couple reasons. A, they're Nintendo, and that's just the kind of thing they do. Nobody saw Labo coming from out of anywhere, and then they made a whole direct for it, and it came out
straight out of the dumpster. Labo.
Nintendo likes to play. Like they like to play with new hardware, new concepts. And there were diagrams when the Switch was coming out where they were showing like, you know, a VR kind of headset that it was capable of doing.
Yeah. So
there has been no talk about a VR headset since then. I think you may see some sort of VR announcement. But it's going to be Nintendo-fied. It's not going to be like big worlds. It's going to be low powered, I think.
It'll be the Virtual Boy. It'll be the Virtual
No. It'll be better than the Virtual Boy. But
It's all in red.
But
Flashbacks.
imagine playing like their catalog from the Virtual Con. Like imagine playing Super Mario World in like a 3D space, like a third dimension and like the bushes or something. Kind of like how the 3DS is, but done properly with the headset. You know, I'm thinking along those lines, not full on like archery, you know, like the one thing that you did.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get that kind of virtual reality, but I think you're going to get some sort of maybe Virtual Boy-esque thing.
It would have to be dumbed down because
like a Samsung, you know, like the headset that they have. I mean, it's just a phone and it's doing like passable VR.
Because it would have to render it twice for the left and the right. So you couldn't do like Zelda Breath of the Wild. It would max out the system, you know.
Yeah. No, I think they'll do it Nintendo-fied. They'll integrate it in with what they already have. And you know, maybe that's why they're playing their cards so close to the chest with Super Nintendo games and their virtual console, whatever it's going to be called, their subscription base. I think it seems like a very Nintendo thing to do to introduce VR, but their way.
You know what I came across today? There's a guy, he built a VR version of the emulator for the NES, and it converts them into like 3D. So
we've seen like browser things that just like play games in like pseudo 3D. Have you seen those?
It does the pseudo 3D,
yeah,
but you do it in VR, so you can look
cool.
around the game and you're playing the NES title.
I desperately want to play that VR Mario Kart game they had in Japan.
Oh yeah,
that looks so awesome. You guys have seen that, right?
No.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it looks so cool. I don't know. You never Nintendo. They're capable of doing anything. You don't know. Nick, do you have any other Nintendo?
Don't remember. Well, I mean, we kind of already mentioned, you know, we expect to see Metroid Prime 4. You mentioned the Smash Brothers.
Now, Smash Brothers, I think we'll see a bit of the roster, I think is how they'll handle that.
Yeah.
I think you'll see some slick new trailers like they did with the squids in the direct reveal they had in the eye. You could see like the 4 or whatever. They had that silhouette of characters. I could see them like highlighting some of those silhouettes, like bringing them to light.
One thing that I know has already been announced, I'd kind of like to see a little bit on maybe, and it's cross-platform, that Mega Man 11 that was announced a little while ago.
That would be cool.
I'd like to
That's
see
the kind of thing I could see them like saving for a Treehouse announcement.
Yeah.
They'll say like, here's some playable, like people will be playing that Mega Man 11 game at the Treehouse for like all day.
Because that looks kind of interesting because it's not in the NES sprite style like 9 and 10 were. So I want to see some more.
And that could be great or it could be terrible. We just don't know.
Yeah.
It's a real unknown.
Because the very first time when they announced it and I saw that it was not the NES sprites, I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Right.
But what I saw, I don't even really remember anymore. But I thought, well, it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, me neither. And we're due some updates on that game for sure. But that's coming out for all the systems, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Switch. Probably Switch. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's coming out for Switch.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm almost positive I saw
that's coming out on all of them. I think.
Okay. But you think it'll be in the Nintendo press conference possibly where you see more of that?
Oh, no, I just didn't mention it before. So.
Okay, you didn't want to lose that prediction. I got you.
I just overlooked it.
Martin, what about you?
I got some left fielders here.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So we're going to see a new Switch game based off of an old property.
Oh, boy, this is what I love.
It's going to be multiplayer, and it's going to be controller-enabled based off of Balloon Fight.
Ooh, a balloon fight.
Balloon fight.
It's so crazy enough Nintendo might do it.
Multiplayer.
Joust for Nintendo.
That's right. And, well, I think it's probably about time for another Kid Icarus game. We saw it on 3DS.
3DS, yeah.
I think we may get a teaser for it.
That's a very likely thing, yeah. So you can see, like, and it would be smart because they could integrate it in with Smash.
Yeah.
Because he's never been in a Smash game, has he?
Or
or
I
has
thought
he?
he was. Pitt was in one of the Smash games.
Was Pitt in?
I know what's her
I thought
name?
he was in the GameCube.
Palatina or whatever the goddess's name is. She is in it, but Pitt, I can't remember.
It would be
I would
interesting.
almost think he'd have to be if she was.
Yeah, I think
Right,
he was.
right.
I think he was in
him.
there. Yeah.
That wouldn't make
he
any
had to
sense.
have been.
Okay. But, you know, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. Okay. Here's something that, I want to get your take on this. And this conversation can go in a lot of different ways.
All right.
And I admit the VR thing's kind of out there, but this one is along the lines of a PlayStation 5 is very, very likely. But the question is, when will they do it? A new Nintendo Switch. Like the new 3DS.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And here's why I think they want to do this, and they want to do it quick. The Switch has been hacked.
Yes.
And Nintendo is not going to be cool with that. Every Nintendo Switch that's out there right now that they're selling is going to be hackable. They're probably going to want to get some new hardware out there very soon that's not hackable. And it would address concerns of, power issues. Because when 3DS, like that Hyrule Warriors for game chugged really bad, but then when the new 3DS came out, it ran more smoothly, I understand. And then for whatever reason, like they weren't capable of playing Super Nintendo games, I guess they said. That was always very weird.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
You couldn't play a Super Nintendo game on the original 3DS. Give me a break.
Yeah.
But I think you could see like a new, maybe they'll make the bezels a little smaller and the screen will be a bit bigger. Or what if, this is just a thought I had, and it's probably crazy. What if they integrated a clamshell into the Switch? Something. I don't even know how they would do it, but like how could they design a clamshell? Because they love that. People love the DS 2-screen experience. Yeah, Nintendo loves the 2-screen experience. Is there any way that they could redesign the Switch to include a clamshell? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, here's a dumb question. Do you think we'll see a new 3DS?
No.
You think it's dead?
No, I think they'll just keep putting out special editions.
The new 2DS XL or whatever?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to dismiss it. Maybe they can make it smaller somehow. Is it possible?
Micro 3DS.
But not to get off the idea of a new Nintendo Switch. I think that if they made it more powerful, they could integrate online.
I think maybe what they might do is come out with one that has a bigger internal storage.
Yeah.
Bigger controllers.
You think so? No.
The people complain about the control being so tiny when you split them apart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think...
Joy-Cons. We could see some new designs of Joy-Cons with like a true
I'd love
D-pad.
to see one with a D-pad, right?
Yeah. Or Joy-Cons with like GameCube type controls.
Oh, that'd be
little
cool.
analogs or whatever. I don't know. I think that's a very possible Nintendo thing.
Definitely different colors, I think.
Different colors is a given, I think. Yeah.
They could do purple for GameCube.
And that may be all they decide to do. Like, oh, here's black, Or no, they've got black. Whatever.
They've got like a charcoal color. They don't have like really a flat black or a glossy
Yeah, that's
black.
right. Because there was that dev kit that was black, and people were like, ooh, that's cool. I like the dev kit.
Yeah, it's kind of just charcoal-y colors, like all they got, really.
That could just be all they do, and it would be great, and people would just eat it up crazy.
On the whole, upgraded Switch, I'm sure they've probably just modified the chip. I bet they won't upgrade it.
Well, there was a different Integra chip that people had hoped they would use. It was a more powerful chip, but for the pricing reasons, they had to go with what they did. So is the new Integra chip any less hackable? Probably not.
I don't know.
But I do think that, Nintendo's being very quiet about the whole thing, but they're fully aware that it's completely hackable right now. And it fits them. It fits their MO of just re-releasing their hardware but making it incrementally better. But I think one of the major gripes about the Switch is you got to use a cell phone for its online capability and its chat. And the reason a lot of people say Nintendo, I don't think has come out and said this, but a reason why a lot of people say that that's the case is it just doesn't have enough RAM, not enough memory to support an online like party kind of thing, you know. So if they released a new with a faster processor, more RAM, they could more easily, and that's how they would sell it.
Yeah,
the whole reason they would market it, it's got everything you need. You don't have to use your phone anymore, and they'll give it some.
What about the people that just bought a Switch?
You know.
They're going to be selling like millions of them still.
They don't care. They'll sneak you all day long.
I was going to say they'll SNK you.
They'll SNK you till you're dead. I mean.
So what are they going to call this? The new Switch?
I think they would. I think
Switch
they would just
bait
call
and switch.
I don't think they'll give it
call
or
it the bait and switch.
But, well, bait and switch. I just got that. They're not that clever.
The Switch U.
Oh God. No, the only way they could make it an XL is if they actually made the screen bigger, and I think they can only do that if they took the bezel out, which is possible. But I know that just makes it more expensive because you're talking about different like screens and stuff. I just think it'll be more powerful, and it would have the ability for online chat.
It would be nice.
Yeah, and I would sell my old one and buy a new one because I don't really care about the hack stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people care, or you know what? A lot of people will just buy another one. They'll buy a second one, keep the original so that they can do whatever home.
That's probably what I would do.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I would just let Logan have it or something.
Yeah, and to keep, they'll do like they did with the 3DS, the new 3DS. You know, when it didn't come with the AC adapter to like keep costs down.
Right.
They won't have a dock.
Oh,
That's a good point. And that's something.
dock.
Now, what if they did this? What if they just released a new Switch? It's not any different, but it just doesn't include a dock, and it's cheaper, like you said.
Yeah.
So you know, like back
Just
in the old days,
unit?
Well, back in the old days, they would sell like the NES deck or whatever they would call it, but then there was another box that had like the light gun and shit. So you know,
for people if they're like, I have no interest to play it on my TV.
Yeah.
I just want a handheld Switch.
and like that would save them like $70-$80. You know,
Yeah.
because isn't that what a dock costs? Like $70 or $80?
Yeah,
Do you
like
think they would ever do anything crazy like this where it's like, send in your Switch plus $200 and you get the newer one instead of paying $400?
I don't know.
Just to get it
would
off
people
the
be
street.
willing-
Just to get it off the street.
Oh, like a reward kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like we'll give you some free
So the
games or
hack
something?
stuff's off the street.
Because this has nothing
Like
to
the
do with what you're
ambassador
saying, but
thing.
Nintendo has that, like, didn't they give, like, people who bought the 3DS at the original really expensive price?
Yeah, the ambassador program.
The ambassador program.
Yeah.
They grandfather you into some little program where if you willingly give your Switch over, they'll give you some sort of reward that's not available to anyone else. It's the incentive for you to give it up. I don't know, maybe. Would they do it?
I think they would probably
If they're desperate.
partner with GameStop or something to do that, so you could just go to your local GameStop and turn it into them.
True.
And then they do their whole thing, and then they get it back anyway.
Yeah.
And that's probably more likely. That's a more
And then
business savvy Nintendo
But
move.
if the goal was to get it off the street, though, that the deal with GameStop wouldn't be like, okay, now you can just resell it. Like they
because
always
GameStop
do.
would want to make the money by reselling it.
They would have to ship them back to Nintendo.
Yeah.
And that may not be any interest for GameStop. They may not be interested, but they may just be willing to do anything to stay afloat.
I mean, I wonder if they'll do a recall on them, quite honestly.
I don't know.
And replace the NVIDIA chip or something, a hardware fix.
I can't see them doing a recall.
I don't know.
I just don't know. They've sold so many already,
right?
too.
Like, why would they not?
Because I think Nintendo, the way they operate, I don't think they're even going to acknowledge it. And like, to do a recall, you would have to give a reason, right? And you couldn't just do a recall without a reason. You know, I don't know. That's just my thought. Because that's kind of a big deal, a recall. Let's see. What other Nintendo stuff we got? Oh, okay. This is more for me, but I think it's a very possible thing. I think we'll get a Madden version on Switch.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is because they went out, EA, one of the big deals from last year at the launch, they did the FIFA game. And they said if FIFA sold well, that they would be more interested in doing some like other games, like other sports titles.
Yeah.
And Madden's the other big thing they have. So I could totally see, and I would be very excited to be able to play a Madden game on the go. Because whenever they do them, usually they're not real good. Like I got a Madden game for the Vita, and it was terrible. So I would love to get like a Switch version of Madden. And since it's a hybrid, technically it should be like, well, the NBA 2K game is very good on the Switch. It's very playable. It looks really good to me, especially when you play it portable because it's all shrunken down. It looks great. It's 30 frames per second instead of 60.
Sure.
But again, it's a solid 30, so it doesn't look bad.
I think people would buy
The
that
textures
on
are a little
Switch.
bit less, but I mean, again, if you're playing it portable most of the time, you're not going to really care.
Yeah, right.
So I think a Madden game is a very likely thing, and I haven't heard anybody say anything about a Madden game.
Do they still have their boxing games, EA?
The Fight Night games?
Yeah.
I don't think they've done it in a long time. Yeah. But, I mean, they could resurrect that,
Yeah,
too.
that'd be neat.
Okay. Here's some of my, so 3DS, whether you love it or not, they have refused to abandon 3DS. Right. And they've doubled down on that here recently. Like, they love the idea of having a very affordable, portable version of a system. They're very content with keeping the 3DS alive. And with good reason, there's a lot of them out there. People are buying them still. Mm-hmm. So here's one of my left field ones. A Game & Watch 3DS collection.
I could see that.
I'd get that.
I know you'd get it, Nick. The question is, why haven't they done anything like that before? And are there any obstacles in their way?
Yeah, they haven't done a Game & Watch collection since
been a while.
Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the kind of game Nintendo likes to do. You know, they'll come out, they'll give you something you didn't know you wanted, but then you see it and you're like, I want that. So Game & Watch it's not going to blow a lot of people away, but it's very intimately Nintendo. They love to celebrate their history.
I think Game & Watch would look cool in 3D also.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Yeah. It would look very neat. So I have no idea whether or not they're working on that, but I think that would be that's the one that I hope it hits, and I'll be like, yeah, I nailed that shit. So I would like to see a 3DS Game & Watch collection. That would be cool. I think it's time to get a new Mario RPG game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, this is a game, this could be one of those big games that they announce.
And back to the Game & Watch thing,
mm-hmm.
They could release games that, to my knowledge, they haven't even re-released. Like, even on these Game & Watch collections back on the Game Boy, they never did the Super Mario Brothers, the Zelda.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Do a proper collection and put everything in.
That'd be very cool to see that Zelda Game & Watch, because that's actually pretty rare. Like, if you look on eBay for the Zelda one, it's big bucks.
I love the way that one looks. It's so cool. But yeah, I would think that would be a neat thing, and it would be a pretty. I mean, 3DS games are cheaper anyway, but you know, it's another one of those games. It's an exclusive to 3DS. It's undoubtedly a game people would bitch about it not being on Switch. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me. Like, they would do that. Here's an exclusive 3DS game. People are like, why not put it on Switch? I'm like, well, because it's perfect for 3DS. It's 3D. Like you said, that would look neat in 3D. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. And it's got the, 2 screens and everything. I mean, it would work.
Mm-hmm. Along those lines, something where you said about Punch-Out.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't make sense on the 3DS, they would put it on the 3DS
as
a versus title.
You're right.
But in 3D.
Damn Nintendo. You're right. I mean, yeah.
But I would buy that.
I'd still
it'd be cool.
I don't have anything against the 3DS. It's a pretty cool little system still.
Yeah.
If it's the right things, like that Samus game, fine. Makes sense. It looks neat in 3D. So there needs to be a reason why it's on the 3DS. Don't just put it on there just because it needs it. Put it on there because it makes sense.
Now, do you think we'll get any big Nintendo properties on the 3DS anymore? Or is this the last? Have we seen the last of it?
I could very easily see another Kirby title on the 3DS down the road. I could very easily see another Yoshi game or something down the road.
Yeah.
Now that
games that people want.
Fair enough.
Now that Metroid
Mario
2
Kart 8
remake has run its course on 3DS, I wonder if that would come on Switch. That'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe. But back to my, Mario RPG. That's a game. It's a big game that people have nostalgia for. It's been a long time. They could bring it back, and it's a big it could be something that they've designed for the Switch. Not something that was coming out for the Wii U. Designed for the Switch. I think people will be excited for that. Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else do I have? Another 3DS game. I thought a new Mario Picross game.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to see like a little new collection of Mario Picross games for 3DS.
Which they had kind of, not Mario, but there was like the Zelda Picross and Pokemon Picross.
Oh, Pokemon Picross? Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, so, that's not like a real big but I think I could see him doing that. All right, let's talk about some of the rumors that we've heard. That because one of my predictions was we're going to see the Retro. What's Retro been up to? They haven't had anything come out since Tropical Freeze, and I'm pretty sure they haven't had anything to do with the remake necessarily.
Are they working on Metroid 4?
Nope. That's
No?
I've heard that who's working on that? Bandai.
Really?
I think so. That's
That'll
the
be
rumor that I
interesting.
heard. I don't think Retro is working on Metroid 4, which is it's surprising. But they're working on something out there. You know, they did the original 3 Metroid Prime games. And then they've been doing the Donkey Kong properties for a long time now. So Tropical Freeze came out in like 2013, 2014-ish. Here we are, 2018. Something's coming. And the rumor that everyone is really on top of right now, and it makes sense. I could see him doing it, and it ties into another classic Nintendo property, is that Star Fox Grand Prix game.
Star Fox Grand Prix. Huh.
And people are describing it
Why not
as...
F-Zero?
That's what people are so pissed about. Because even like the cars that people are like, they're predicting it to play like an F-Zero game, but not be an F-Zero game, which just infuriates the It's another one of those checklist games.
Why would we not get a proper Star Fox game on Switch?
Why don't they just port the Star Fox Zero or whatever?
God, no. Well, that's probably the reason why that game tanked so hard, I think.
Now, was it because the game sucked or just no one bought it on a Wii U?
I think people were furious with the way the controls, like it forced you to use the control scheme.
Now, if they fix that,
I don't know.
I mean,
maybe, but if you took the Star Fox property and went in another direction and it was successful, it might get people more interested in a true Star Fox game. I don't know. But people are describing it as a Diddy Kong Racing meets the Star Fox characters kind of style of racing game. I don't know what that means because I barely remember Diddy Kong Racing.
I mean, it was pretty much a Mario Kart.
It was Mario Kart that would sometimes transition between like underwater. I mean, it would do things like Mario Kart 8
if they do that in Star Fox where you've got the land walkers,
that's it.
It's going to be
because
horrible.
It's going to be horrible. That's something that I heard too. And you mentioned that, Nick, and then I heard someone say, well, that makes sense because they have all those transformations in the Star Fox. So if it is anything like Diddy Kong, that would come into play. Also, do they have a roster of characters big enough to create one of those types of games? Because it's not like,
that Star Fox 2 that was recently unearthed on the Super NES Classic introduced a couple more characters.
Did it? Okay. So they would be.
That's why they did that strategically.
I mean,
that's a good point, Martin. Because
why else would they come out with that?
People got real happy about that game, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, here's the thing: do any of us care about that game?
A Star Fox racing game? Not at all.
No,
not at all.
I don't care.
If it was a proper Star Fox game, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Mario Kart 8 sells a lot of copies, man.
Well, that's Mario.
It's not
Mario
Star
Kart.
Fox.
No, I know. But if it's done by Retro, and Retro has a phenomenal track record for making these,
I would rather them do something better than that.
I hope
like
that,
an F-Zero.
I hope I'm with you. I hope the rumor's false. They've dug up this logo and everything. Like they it looks like a solid rumor.
Maybe it was a canned game.
Some of these leakers too, like these
game for Star Fox.
Some of these trusted leakers too have hinted that it's a thing too, and that's what scares me even more. It's like it really seems like it might happen. I'm hoping for a new property. I would much rather see Retro, to play off Martin's comment, make a new Kid Icarus game, or a proper Star Fox game, whatever. But
a new IP based off like first-person shooter or something, That would be interesting.
Here's another thing too. Right around the same time last year in May, all those leaks of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle came out, and nobody thought that was a good idea. And it ended up being a really cool game that a lot of people dug. So that's why I'm also thinking this could be true. Because who wants like a Star Fox racing game? I don't think anybody's asking for that. But here's this leak.
We'll have to see, I guess.
Yeah. Pokemon is the other big thing that's recently
I heard that
leaked,
was coming out.
that they were looking to release. And we know a Pokemon game's coming out. That's not That's not unusual. And they're also saying like it's going to come out in 2018. Like I keep hearing that.
Wow.
So you got to think E3 is the time and place to show it off. So I kind of believe these rumors. They're saying it's kind of like there's 2 games and it's going to integrate Go somehow.
A lot of times Nintendo likes to announce their games on their own though, and not at E3.
It's true.
Yeah.
Do a whole, especially with Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
They like to do a Pokemon Direct. I don't know. But here's the other thing. One of those leakers said that May is when we're going to hear an announcement. So whether that, not May, within the next month, I think is what she said. So that falls into E3.
Yeah.
But I mean, they could do a Direct right after E3. I don't know. But with Pokemon,
Don't they do one in the summer or fall? They do some kind of Direct.
Let's see. They typically do one in like the spring. And they'll do one, I think, in the wintertime, I think. But, fall, I'm not sure. Maybe. They're pretty predictable, it seems like. Whenever I get on, like, Reddit boards for Nintendo, people a lot of times can really get close to predicting when.
Well, there's a new CEO, right? Is that, or what
Yeah.
was-
There's a new
Things
CEO.
could be mixed up a little bit,
Maybe.
you know?
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, from what I understand, like, other than the mobile gaming stuff, I feel like he's pretty much in line with, Nintendo and their history. I don't think he's going to come shake anything up necessarily. I don't know that, but I kind of doubt they're going to shake a bunch of stuff up. Nintendo's been very Nintendo, and they've stayed the course to, a lot of times to their detriment. But they, and maybe that's why people are so fiercely loyal to Nintendo, is they do stay pretty true to their self. So I don't know. What's it? The Pikachu Let's Go and Eevee Let's Go, or Let's Go Eevee, or Let's Go Pikachu. I don't know. But they're saying, like, in the rumors, that the way you catch Pokemon, like, they can use the touchscreen similar to Go. Does the Switch have AR capabilities at all?
No.
Doesn't?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I can't remember. I couldn't
It's only got that infrared camera in the controller.
in the Joy-Cons, yeah. I don't know.
And maybe the Switch 2.0 will have a camera.
Oh, jeez. Now you're talking. Let's see. Anything else from
The bait and switch.
The bait and switch.
That's a thing, dude. The bait and switch. I think that's all of the. I wanted to touch on those rumors, and I do think a retro game is going to get released this E3, whether or not it's Star Fox Grand Prix or not. I think you're going to see one. I hope it's. I hope it's not, but I don't want to just say it's not going to work, because I was so wrong about Mario plus Rabbids, as most of us were. But I mean, that again, though, that was Mario. You apply Mario to things, and it's way more palatable. It's more successful.
So it would have to be Mario and Star Fox.
Mario and Star Fox, yeah, right.
Which you've never seen a crossover.
Or what about like a Minecraft with? Well, they already have playable like Mario skins, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. But I mean, you add in Mario to anything, it's going to be instantly more interesting, at least, if nothing else. But that game was pretty cool. Like, I like that game. Nick, do you have any other Nintendo predictions you would like to share?
No, I think that was everything I wrote down.
Yeah, I think I covered all the ones that I wanted to talk about. We got to cover a whole bunch of stuff. Martin, I think you got all yours in, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get us back together again post E3 and revisit, and we can see if. I'd like to talk about what we saw, obviously, but I don't think it's fun to kind of grade ourselves and see if we got anything right.
We need to make up like a bingo card with everything that we've said.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, of all the things we said, let's each pick one that we hope happens the most.
Okay.
Martin, you want to go first while Nick looks at his?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking.
I
here.
threw this on you guys. I just thought of it in the moment.
That's more likely to happen, or
No.
Oh yeah, well I got mine. The thing that we most like to see, but probably would never happen.
Yes, and we did that last year. And so, if there's one thing that you would just be so, like a couple years ago when the Crash was announced, like people were like, "Oh my God, Crash is finally back." What's the thing you really want to see?
Tekken Cross Street Fighter.
Okay, so Nick, that would make you the happiest of all of these things.
I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but
okay, but it would be a major victory, right?
That'd get me excited.
Martin, can you think of anything?
I would say actually Zelda Maker.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah,
that would make me.
Can I
That's
change
really
mine?
good. Sure you can, Nick. 2 for Zelda Maker. That's a good one,
Yeah,
Martin.
I like that one.
Let's see. For me, it's Madden. I'm sorry. I would love to see a Madden for Switch. I think that, to me, it feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. I don't understand why. It would sell millions of copies.
Sure.
So I would love to see, and that's kind of a boring one. I'm sorry.
And the
yours
multiplayer,
bores
you know?
me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But anyways, so yeah, we'll get back together again and revisit our predictions, and then we'll talk about all the exciting things that happened. And there's going to be things we didn't think about. There always is. There's going to be things that we're like, I don't know why they're doing that.
Well, there was, I guess, one thing that's not really Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft. That there's that rumor of the Genesis Mini coming out.
I hadn't heard that rumor.
Oh yeah, I heard some kind of rumor that it's going to be a thing. I'd like to see that announced.
Do you think Sega could slip that in some? Because it's not like they have their own press conference. So how would,
I don't know. Like,
I'm sure.
they
don't
could
have
just have a press conference that's not at E3. But
well, they wouldn't necessarily
They're
have a
at
press
E3.
conference, but they could just have it at
yeah,
the show.
I didn't hear anybody mention anything about Sonic. Do we think Sonic's gone for a while now?
Well, I mean, Sonic Jam or whatever the one that's on Switch. What
Mania?
Mania? I mean, it's got the Plus version coming out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So I mean, I think Sonic's
What's
good.
different about Plus?
It's got a couple extra characters and a couple extra levels, I think.
Like who? Like what character? Like
It's
that big cat, like from
No,
Adventure?
no,
or-
it's from some scrapped Sonic game.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll just go ahead and put a cherry on top of this show. It's a pretty long one. This is going to be a long one, but I don't want to split this one up. I want to do this one all in one episode. So for this week, should I get anything out there? Check us out on Spotify for audio listeners. If you haven't already, a lot of people have Spotify, and I got us on there. So we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. And then for you audio listeners, please consider checking out our YouTube channel. I originally designed this show to be mostly video, but it works. It's more convenient for a lot of people to do audio. So, if you are an audio listener, I would urge you to check out the video because I put a little extra effort into, with my edits in the videos. And I think there's things that you can appreciate in the video that you wouldn't necessarily get in the audio. But anyways, other than that, we got the Facebook page that we really haven't had any use for recently.
Yeah.
Martin, where can people find you and follow you as far as?
You can follow me on Twitter at Martin Reimer.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm still on, at Ron Avis, and Nick, you're still Nicholas J. Wright.
Yeah, whatever it is, I don't.
I'm trying to get more into Twitter. I know that's like an old guy thing to say because most people have moved on to like Snapchat, Instagram, whatever. But I'm finding Twitter to be a little bit more fun for me. I guess it's just I'm coming around to it. Like I've had it
Twitter.
forever, but just really never used it all that much. So follow us there. We try to put updates either that on the Facebook page. That's one good reason to check out the Facebook page is I will try to put announcements on there like a show's coming this week or not. Because we're not we try to get them out every Thursday, but some weeks we just can't do it. And last week being one of those situations like there wasn't a show that came out. So if you check out the Facebook page, if you follow us there, then you'll know when a new show's coming out. And I'll try to do the same for Twitter. Try to be better about doing that on Twitter too. That's all I have for housekeeping as far as that goes. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I've been your host, Ron Avis.
I'm Nick Wright.
Martin Reimer.
We'll see you next week.